Here we go. Hello, everyone. To this rare occasion of an FC chat, I know I kinda want to apologize that it has been a little bit rare. But I mean, most of you probably know that my girlfriend was actually lucky to get deployed to Germany. She actually just landed in the US again. So we made good use of the time, especially the weekends, and it wasn't really that easy to line FC chats up. And but in the coming year, you can expect to come back to the weekly, FC chat, and a little bit more reliably, at least. Oh, yeah. Speaking of that, I guess I have to mute the thingies. See, I forgot how this all worked, actually. But yeah, as you can see, a really packed lineup today. We kind of want to do a little bit of a year a recap and, talk about things that happened that we might have actually forgotten. I went back and checked like dev blogs, and I went over the Reddit threads a little bit. Like if I forgot anything, put it on the list. And we're gonna go through the list month by month a little bit. But before we do that, maybe I should, even though they're big names in the game, I should maybe give like everyone like a super short introduction at least. I would say starting with a good friend of mine and like how well, you're a good friend too. Like everyone here is good friends. I think Casper has been on a couple times. I had Elias on, Chossuh. Like I don't re-invite people if I don't like him. So everyone here is considered a good friend, all right? But Shines and I go back a little bit longer, right? Like I don't even know how long. I guess around 11 years now, because that's how long I've been in it. But yeah, Shines is the main FC and leader. Like there was a little bit of a like, I don't want to say takeover, that sounds so aggressive, but Bliss, who is actually like one of the founders of Init and used to be the leader, he kind of stepped back, focusing on real life stuff, and Shines picked up in like big time. And we're gonna talk about how crazy he went this year. But yeah, main FC and leader of Init, the shiny boy. And then the next one would be Chossuh, who has been on a couple times. He's a very well-known FC in Horde. So he has actually been on the other side of the war, which might just be interesting when we talk about that, to have like both sides at least represented. Has been on a few times, I don't know, 3-4 times, especially when we talk about bombers. I was like to invite Chossuh. He kind of has a hand for that kind of stuff too.
Conscience for bombing.
Then next on the list, CCP Swift. You see the cards, the FC cards here. It's still Elise Randolph. One of the big reasons why I thought it would be great to have him on is this year he became a CCP dev, actually, right? From player to dev.
Yeah, it's been weird, but very, very fun.
Always well respected and known to be like a universal good dude, even though he's in PL. Always surprising to me, he used to be in PL. Actually, you still are, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about that, I'm sure. Then Casper24 is probably like the best known name in like small scale AT kind of stuff. Used to have like the title of being second in most ATs or whatever, but actually like this year he won again with his team Hydra, and yeah, welcome. And then we have Asher, right? Asher being the main FC for Goons, and therefore I would say the main FC for the Imperium as a whole. And yeah, basically the winner of this year's or the winner of the biggest war in gaming history, I guess, right? So
I'll take it.
yeah, I mean, if you wanna, I mean, it's true though, right? Isn't it? I don't think there's a game that could actually have a bigger war in any kind of way. So we have more players involved in a war, So you could say
That's what makes Eve very unique, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's honest. It's the biggest war in gaming history, I think. So yeah, there you go, guys. Like, I don't know if that's not a good lineup. I don't know what is, right? So
Can I say it's like really cool? Like, I've never talked to Casper before, but like I love when I just see like a Z kill feed pop up and just something ridiculous was killed. And I look at the mail and he's on there. He's either occasionally he's the one who's killed, but more often he's the one who's killing. So it's just cool to see someone that you have like no interaction with, but you know who they are.
Yeah, dude, I feel very out of place with all you names in here, by the way. Yeah, like you see all these, we have our little eyes about you guys always ping in. We're like, all right, time to leave. Aster just pinged or somebody just pinged. So we know who you guys all are too, but obviously I've never seen you guys face to face. So again, I'm a little out of place here, but it's good to meet all you guys and interact.
Thanks, I'll tell you.
It's just a difference in play style. I think
Yeah.
while Asher is maybe like the best guy to have the biggest fleets possible, you're probably the best guy to have the smaller, more more nifty kind of fleets. Right?
I would wager no amount of money in a 1v1 me versus Casper. I would wager against myself every time.
Yeah, well, I got a big old keep star. Just stay away from that, and then I'll be all right.
We're all good.
All right, cool.
The Amamaki Keepster. Yeah, we should talk. Actually, let's start with that super short. Like, what happened there in Amamaki today? Swift, you were there, right?
Yeah, there were like 3 things that happened. There was like this big Russian influencer event where we had 30 something Russian streamers try out Eve for the first time and play around with their communities. It was really fun. And then they decided, hey, you know what would be really funny? We'll just give them the dreads and see what happens in Amamaki. And that's what happened.
Fly dreads though.
We flipped the switch so they could fly dreads for like an hour.
Right.
So they got like a 1 hour dread time. That would be the I forget his name. It's where all the band ISK goes. Like it's got a special GM name.
Yeah,
and like all the band assets go to like one super account. So like whenever we use stuff, it comes from there.
All right. So you took dreads out of like confiscated kind of accounts, shit.
Yeah. And then Bjorn B came over.
Yeah,
to the CCP offices, and it was like, "Hey, we're going to fly around in there." So there was like I think 20 CCPers or so in Serbs just flying around. But of course, like everyone showed up because it was Amamaki and so close to everything. Snuff came in, obliterated everything. It was a good time. Horde showed up. Goons were there. PL were there. There were like 1,000 people in local, all just like randomly shooting each other and also trying to kill these dreads. And then there just so happened to be like a bunch of random Russians clicking siege and pushing F1 on stuff. It was a good amount of time, or rather a good amount of fun. And it was just kind of nice to see how it played out, where it wasn't just like an immediate dumpstering and then like one side goes home.
Yeah, so I saw Snuff. I mean, not a surprise. You go to Losec with any like significant kind of fleet, you gotta expect Snuff to show up too, right? I saw them there in like a Legion fleet, and I was like, "Ooh, that's not easy to crack for any of the other fleets." And they dominated. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, they had Legions, Apostles, and Dreads. I mean, still like
but they made it
still does take some guts, right? Because who cares that you're still dropping the hammer? There's still 900 other dudes that could just turn on you and just keep you pinned down forever. That's like it's easy to see when it's like a super win. They're like, oh, they just easily won, no problems. But there is some situations where that could have probably gone really horribly for them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there that kind of would always prefer an outcome that Snuff doesn't like. So. There's no lack of like finding support if you're saying like, hey, you guys want to kill some Snuff, whatever, Dreads, Legions. There's always going to be supporters. But all right,
we had like 30,000 Russians watching on Twitch.
I saw that actually. Yeah.
And then some of the streams were like really dope. I forget the stream name, but it's like these Russian twins that are like these bodybuilders as well.
I saw that too. I was like, what the fuck is going on there?
They had like flannel shirts with no sleeves. Bodybuilders.
Okay.
So they're just like guns out Russian dudes playing Eve and they're identical twins. They are the coolest dudes in the world. I'm not saying that I have a favorite stream.
Wait, do you speak Russian?
But I mean, you don't need to speak Russian to watch these guys. It's just amazing.
Like watching art.
Yeah.
How did you did you just pick all the dreads up as they were confiscated, or did you refit them like a certain way? I didn't check the BR yet.
They probably all had old fits, guns weren't online and stuff, and the noobs were all like trapped in dreads that they couldn't use.
When it was like the way it was set up, like I didn't do it. It was mostly the people working with the Russian community that did it. So I'm not sure exactly how they are fit, but I think they were just fit kind of normally. Just based on what we had available.
It's like I got a ping from my corp being like, "There's 30 Horde dreads in Amamaki." And I was like, "What?" So I didn't know this event was going down, so I was like, "Okay, this could be quite entertaining." Like someone said, like there's a snuff dread bomb fighting a horde dread group or something.
Yeah, you guys aren't that far from Amamaki, right?
No, yeah, Mr. Martin from Horde took a fleet a couple times there, I think.
He actually.
One of the Phoenix kill mills from there, and it's fully passive Phoenix, with the high grade Nirvana still in the cargo.
Pretty cool.
Oh no,
that's a feels bad.
What difference would it have made? You know,
they had 30 minutes in the tutorial to kind of figure out how Dread PvP works. So
yeah,
that should have been fine. But
dudes, I tell you though,
tutorial.
No, I think you guys underestimate that, because when we did the other event, Swift, right, with the mentor stuff, and I had to teach that one guy, which is usually not kind of what I do, right? So I was taking him on because he's German, and I was trying to teach that guy everything and stuff. But man, you underestimate how many little things you take for granted. Just locking stuff in an orbit and keep it range, and just knowing some distances that 100 km, you're not in range with a blaster Hecate, okay?
So don't look at your ship. Your ship isn't important.
Yeah, that there's a big difference between 15 km and 2 km, for example, right? All these little things, they're all missing. Like if you have to teach someone how to, I mean, a dread is pretty straightforward, so they probably got away with it, but man, there's a lot to it that people might not realize, like if you've played for like a year or two.
How did like the fleet management go from the streamer side? Was it like one guy that knew how to play Eve just calling out like what they should do, or was it? Because I actually didn't watch the stream, so I don't know.
So I think it was CCP Alpha, iBeast, and Shoot33, who are some of like the bigger Russian streamers. Like kind of corralled them together a little bit.
Yeah, and was it the highest EVE Online Twitch numbers ever? 30,000?
I've never seen it higher than 30,000.
Yeah.
We were just looking at it, and obviously they were like, of those 33,000 or whatever, like 30,000 had never seen Eve before,
and they were all Russian too.
Yeah, and they're all Russian.
that's a pretty insane number though, when you think about it.
Yeah. I was looking at the whole like Twitch browse thing, right? So what I was hoping for, that Eve would go up to like maybe the second row, like after those absolute big titles. And it just
we had more
barely
streamers
got
than
there
WoW
for a second.
For a couple minutes, we were like just beating WoW. It felt great.
That is kind of nice.
That's
actually
impressive, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have actually not focused on the big titles that were above Eve still. I should have actually looked down like what's actually what do we take? Yeah, I missed out on that. But
yeah, but we did it mostly just to have fun, right? Like just introduce these guys and their community. Like we weren't like, man, we have to beat WoW for this to be successful. We just wanted people to have like a really good time. The holidays are here. Just it's been a stressful year. Just relax, shoot some dudes, watch these guys struggle to fly dreads, like introduce them to like fun stuff for just like an hour of Eve.
Yeah, I'm still nice though,
So,
right?
yeah, I had a good time. Like Bjorn made sure that the CCPers like got on some kills.
Yeah,
So that
as
was a
always.
feels good. And then we all died horribly.
How was the feedback from the new guys? Did Alpha say anything about that?
Some of them really liked it. Like
Yeah.
they had no idea what was going on in the dread fight, right? Like you're throwing
Yeah.
someone that had never seen Eve into 1,000 people in Amamaki. Like one of them, like the fight started because a dude accidentally warped to the gate from the Keemstar.
That's great.
Well,
So they're like,
it
oh,
happens
well, I
to
guess this is what we're
everyone.
doing. Yeah.
That basically sums up Eve, though, right?
Yeah.
True.
Remember our
awesome.
move up from Fountain to Delph?
Don't.
I do remember. Chossuh probably remembers too.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 times just walk to the wrong gates, you know? It's just what happens. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Move ups probably have taken like literal years off of my life. Like even I had it easy because I was FCing in like the easy years where you could just jump to Sinos. And people just jump the wrong way. And it's like, oh god damn it, guys.
Or they jump empty, right?
Yeah. Or they'd run out of fuel, or they wouldn't be cap fit, or
Yeah.
Absolutely stressful.
Yeah.
I suppose that's one of the transferable skills you get from Eve, actually, is just learning how to communicate things. Because you get so much practice at it as an FC, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, when you review your own kind of fleets and when you look through back the videos and stuff, and identify mistakes, it's just interesting that a lot of them, at least in my fleets, most of the time it's me that are causing problems, not the actual the members. So
Yeah.
One of the skills I've learned from CFCing is I used to think that you could always teach everyone that, like, you know, everyone has redemptive qualities, but no, there's always going to be that one person on the Titan that's warped at the gate. No matter how many times you say it,
True.
no matter how much you hold their hand,
Yeah.
there's always the Titan warping to the wrong gate.
Yeah. He's watching
That's true
YouTube on
on-
the side, reading a
That's true
book.
on every level, from big guys
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
little 4 guys. Like
Yeah.
somebody always gets caught and goes, "Guys, save me!" We all warp back and we're all dead. Just at every level of gaming that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you want to like put yourself in a terrible situation, like fighting on the gate that you're not prepped for to save this one guy, or do you want to look like the a-hole who's like, just let him die? You know,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you
We usually
have
just
no
die.
good choices.
Yeah. Or like, do you want to rage about it? Or is it like, you know, I think by now the culture is not that ragey anymore. It used to be like hardcore, right? Let's like way back, for example, the song that I played at the beginning, right? That's from a time where people were like, you were getting insulted like you wouldn't believe it, right? Back then, it's like you can't just fuck up like this. But nowadays, I think everyone kind of realized, like, you know, people have like there might just be someone distracted. I mean, you know, Chossuh, right? You just became a dad. If your daughter just fucking starts crying and
dude, like she tackles me all the time. Like I can't.
What are you gonna do?
Get away from it,
right?
Yeah.
Your ship might just die for it. That's
like,
the reality of things.
I'm trying to
You
do
just
like
care a little less as you. Sorry, you just care a little less as you get older too, right? Like that. I think
True.
that's part of it. Just
True.
you age into being a little more wise.
I want to know some stories from you, big FCs though. What's the maddest you've been at somebody recently? Yeah, I want to know like any yelling instances.
You know what? Before we like, you guys can keep thinking about it.
Sorry.
Let me just say one thing. I was thinking next year I'm gonna do like an award show, and that's one of the points I was thinking about. The best fleet comms moment, right? The best rage, like the best FC rage. I don't know who would get it. Like, I think that there's some couple names out there that are really good at that. But yeah,
I mean, I've got some top candidates that I think would just be shoe-ins.
When you're in a group, yeah, I don't think I would win that award, because I think when you're in a group like Goons, you know, there's always new people. Every fleet you're auditioning for someone to come on your next fleet, and there's always someone who's brand new or brand newish. One time I was flying with my group Reavers, and I expect more out of them. Like, it's a smaller group, you know, and we fly higher skill doctrines, and I expect a higher level of performance than I would in a main fleet. And we were fighting tests. This was a long time ago. So at the time, Reavers could fight tests. Test was in maybe Innsmother or Deadrid, sort of after they'd broken down after the 2013 war. And we were fighting their Proteuses. We were in Ishtars, and we were clean sweeping them. Like, it was just like painting by FC. And I was in the zone. Like, everyone in the fleet was in the zone. and we were destroying them. We didn't lose a single ship. Like, we lost a Rifter and a Vigil, and we were killing a bunch of Proteuses. And I was feeling really good. And then 2 Ishtars come up in the battle report, just like died in Asteroid Belt, 2 of our Ishtars. And I kind of lose it because I was feeling so good. I'm like, yeah, we fucking destroyed them. We're so good. These guys suck. We're the best, blah, 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 right? And then I'm like, 2 Ishtars? 2 Ishtars? And the guy doesn't answer. And he comes back, and like 5 minutes later, he's like, oh, my son fell and cut his face. I was like, oh, dude.
Oh,
No.
Oh
It was a
my
good lesson.
god.
It was a really good lesson in why you should just not act like that, because your son falling and hurting himself is much more important than 2 Ishtars in a game.
Yeah. What about you, Chossuh? Someone in the chat said you're never mad.
I do not so much anymore. I got pretty mad during the war, for various reasons, but
You're welcome.
not mostly when I was doing the chemo fleets, because you know when you're like set up to do a chemo fleet and then someone
It's frustrating
decloaks.
at times.
Yeah, someone decloaks and then suddenly you fucked the run, and then suddenly people are starting warping in sphere formation or whatever. and
Same
you
with
can't do it.
bombers, right?
Yeah, so
And
those
it's
little
sometimes
things.
the chance never comes in. That's the frustrating part. You're
Yeah.
waiting and waiting. And then when that dude
But-
fucks up, that's the moment. And you're fucking decloaked. You're on a safe recloaking. You're doing
Yeah.
something else.
But often, like, even if it's weird, like, often a lot of times, like, there are lots of like really important micro decisions that you make, and those can kind of build up into something that ends up going wrong, but not necessarily like it's anyone's fault. It's just that you've picked the wrong gate to set up on. You've just tried.
Sometimes
to
it goes
think
right
ahead and
too,
just,
though.
Just hasn't. Yeah, true. Yeah, but probably the maddest I've been actually is not in recently anyway. It wasn't really mad. It was more disappointed. So like we were setting up for some rockals.
Of course.
Channeling
Yeah,
is in a dead already.
Yeah, so we were setting some rockals in Stain. I think we had eyes on like 5 rockals mining, and this is really dumb. But so the guys that we were working with, I asked them to back probe us a route for us to get there. We were coming from Calaveras Expense, obviously. So he finds a route, but it's like 20 jumps out of the target. And like, oh shit. So the group moves a Titan for us to be able to bridge closer, like 6 jumps out or something. Anyway, so like, but they didn't have their own hard signer in system, like logged off in system or anything. So we had to like first use one of their blops bridges from like 20 jumps away, just to bring in the hard signer onto a covert signer, and then we could bridge our fleet, right? So we start getting stuff moved, like we move the sabers a few jumps out, get them logged off and stuff like that, get everything prepared. We get onto the blops bridge, right? And then like when it comes time to bridge, we're like, dude, you need to bridge now. Like we need to get into system. We need to get into system. And the guy's like, I'm trying. And then it turns out this guy just forgot to fit a bridge module. So we actually couldn't get the hard sign. And bearing in mind, like it took us like half an hour, 35 minutes to actually get our fleet just to be ready in Titan. But the annoying thing is, right? So we go by gate. We start chasing anyway, just to see. And we miss a roll call by like a 10 seconds or something. But annoyingly, like when we actually went back home, because it was rushed and we didn't have anything pre-prepared, 3 jumps en route back home, like in exact same way that we, roughly the same way that we're coming back from, that we arrived from. There was actually a drifter hole exit that we could have used, but we just didn't. we just didn't probe it out. And at that point, I was just like, oh man, just like we rolled the dice. They just didn't work in our favor.
Yeah. When it comes to those complicated things, like, oh, you have to take this wormhole route to this wormhole to take the wormhole route to this spot to then take the Titan bridge to this thingy, and then you have to burn 6 jumps. That's already where I say, like, nah, thanks, dude. 5
Like,
rock piles, fine.
like,
We're gonna tackle
getting
one
the
of
info.
them, but
Yeah, I mean, it would have worked really well, and I think if we actually like had things, the guy with the bridge module would have been fine. But that one
True.
like crucial mistake just sent me into a bit of a depressed mode. But yeah, those things happen.
How about the shiny boy? I know the shiny boy enjoys some rage every now and then.
That is an absolute lie. I never rage. I'm probably the calmest I've seen, Eve.
You know what's funny about you? You rage, but then also 5 minutes later you feel really bad about it. So
It's the little things, right? Like people not anchoring. Like if you land on a grid in Munins you kind of need your fleet to be where you are so that you
And then
can.
there's 10 dudes just falling asleep
and then
on the
this guy's
warp.
just like, oh look, the sun. I'm gonna burn closer to it and see what it's really like. And go ahead, Asher. Sorry.
I was just thinking about exactly what you're saying there about they need to anchor on you. Do you guys have different experiences in different time zones, like the quality of people anchoring up and just fleet members doing better and worse in specific time
I
zones?
do. You know what?
AU time zone.
What
It's the
what
worst,
about
right?
the AU time
It's
zone?
the worst.
No. Wait a second.
Oh,
The
it's
AU
the
time.
worst.
I would say our AU time zone is the calmest on comms always. And now every time I do an AU time zone fleet, I always tell them, like, guys, why are you so quiet? They're just having a chat. Because, like, at the moment, I'm just doing, like, 30-man fleets, 40-man fleets, you know? I kind of limit them. So we can have a chat. We can just, like, hang out and talk a little bit and stuff, and someone can tell a story. Who cares, right? But then they're so quiet, and then every time I'm like, guys, what's going on? Is everything all right? Are you like, no? They just don't talk.
Our
I
AU
never
time zone.
had bad experience though.
Ours is really cosmopolitan. So we have like Australian, New Zealand, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans.
Right.
So you have people with Russians too, like especially Siberian Russians, right? Like, and then you have people up late in the US, up early in EU. So you have like a whole melange of different languages and sort of different expectations. And like, I feel like Russians, if you aren't screaming at them as the FC, they don't think you're involved at all. And the Chinese are sort of like, if you aren't telling them they're doing a bad job, they feel like they're not doing a good job. But like, there's like all these different cultural expectations of fleet members. And like, if I go into EU time zone, like US time zone, my comms are awful. I talk a lot. I let people talk a lot. And some people are so annoyed by this, but I like to just have a little free-flowing conversation. And when we get in a fight, everyone shut up and pay attention. But in EU, it's like, you could hear a pin drop. It's so quiet. And I'm like, guys, are you there? Do you want to talk about like weird Dutch people? Like, what's going on? Let's do it. Let's do something, please.
When we were coordinating and I would join your comms during the war, I don't know how you fucking were able to do anything. But like you couldn't even hear the other FCs, even with priority. It's just like fucking people talking about Walmart and all this shit.
Shines. Do you remember Bliss? Like when first Fuzzysoft was introduced, Bliss pushed all the FCs to go and help goons with the test run in, what was it? Providence, right? We did like this test kind of, invade Providence for fun and see how all the mechanics work and stuff. And he pushed us to join the comms. So we do cohort with like all the other FCs in Imperium and stuff, right? And the first day, I think Bliss wasn't around on the first day. We did it and we reported back like, dude, we can't do this. It's too much. The chit chat and all that. And he's like, nah, it's fine. Second day, Bliss shows up. He does it. And then the third day, he's like, nah, fuck this. We're doing our own comms. It was so chaotic. We could not handle it.
When he's watching the green text flow by. And he's like, how do you see something? He's like, I just see red dress or whatever. That's me with our comms. I'm just hearing 85 streams and pulling out what I need.
I just can't do that. Like, what kills me, like, you'll be, like, the FC channel will be talking. Yeah. And nobody else talks, right? The entire fleet is quiet, and that's cool. Except that one guy who doesn't realize that for some reason nobody else is talking. So he talks. And he doesn't fucking stop talking.
I just don't listen to him. Like, I just tune that one guy out. Like, you got to selective hearing. Like, in these big fights, when you've got your main comms, like your fleet and the people who are talking to you from your fleet. Then you have literally sometimes 10 other fleets on global, each trying to pass around information. Like, if you are listening to all those words actively, you'll never accomplish anything. You have to, like, hear bomb, Sino. You just have to listen for the little keywords and let everything else sort of flow passively through like your subconscious, or else it'll never happen.
I think that's a crazy skill.
I think this is
because there were so many different groups in Pappy. Like this was a big problem. So that usually what you'd have,
I can only imagine.
Someone who was appointed as like the translator. So they would like take useful bits of information from coordination comms and then just feed that to you. So you actually could mute. You could
imagine.
I was going to say, like,
can you imagine having to have a translator to play Eve? Holy cow.
This is why DPRB is probably the best FC the game has ever seen. Not because he makes like tactically sound decisions, but like if you try to spy on any of his fleets or like anything like that, even if you're good at like tuning out voices, because I'm like really good at tuning people out. Like you just cannot. He just does not stop talking. Like he will
DBRB
just.
is the G-Wiz of defense. He's putting out thousands of rounds downrange
Yeah.
every second.
There's a great clip on YouTube of DBR on our YouTube actually of DBRB trying to get through a gate during the war, and it's fucking hilarious. It's like have you seen it? It's so funny because it's Cricket keeps grabbing him every time. He's just like blaming, like he's like, oh, I'm gonna get through this time. I'm gonna get through this time. These guys can't catch me. They're shit. And then every single time,
he's a fun dude, right? But
fun.
I tell you what, I talked about him. Like someone brought his name up yesterday or 2 days ago in my Discord actually, and I think Boat is underrated in some aspect. When it's serious, he was a decent Bomber FC, and people are just like, oh, it's just Boat because he's always like playing a jolly, funny guy, you know. But when it comes to the like before the 2 big bomb runs we had in the 1DQ defense kind of stuff, he actually was the owner of the biggest bomb run ever. Just saying, right?
I mean, it's better to be under, especially as a Bomber FC, where like you can literally wipe out a whole fleet.
Yeah, you gotta take it serious, dude.
And the thing is, like, if people underestimate him all the time, like enemy FCs, enemy people, oh, it's just Boat. Like, yeah, that's all well and good, but if he lines up that money shot bomb run, and your fleet is vaporized, it's still gone, even if Boat did it to you.
Boat is an unstoppable force of nature. Like I managed to get him. Like there was a point when like the goons were at their weakest after like the North fell, like the way back when they were just chilling in Declan and everyone else was like
can't stop the boat.
Yeah, and he was getting like 30 people in fleet, and he would still form like with the same vigor as if he had like a 1,000-man fleet behind him, and he'd still do dumb shit and like be successful. He was just relentless. Like everyone else would be like, "Oh man, I'm tired of doing this boring shit. It takes like 5 times longer because I don't get the people." And Bo's just like, "Let's do it. let's go out."
Yeah.
At least you know that
If
story.
you jump, you die.
You know that story of that student who came in late to his college class, and the professor had written some unsolvable math problems on the board, and he just did them. He solved them because he didn't know they were supposed to be unsolvable.
Yeah,
that's Boat right there for you. You're either going to get the unsolvable solved or just gibberish back, but he's going to do it.
He definitely has the energy, right?
Yeah.
The challenge in fighting Boat is you never know what he's going to do.
Yeah. He doesn't know what he's going to do.
That is very true.
Yeah, it's really hard to predict him.
Don't worry, it's just as scary for the blue fleets as it is for your fleet.
That is also very true. All right, guys. Before, like, I wanted to go over the list, like month by month. But before we do that, how about like your personal highlights of this year? Like, can be anything, right? It can be like a specific event. It can be like an ongoing kind of process or whatever, you know, it can be anything really. Like, so what was your highlights of the year? Let's start with, I think with the easy one. Actually, there's 2 easy ones. No, there's 3 easy ones actually. But
I mean, this should be pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I can predict at least. I can predict 3 already. I can predict 4. I cannot predict Shines all too easily. But everyone else is kind of obvious now that I think about it. All right, let's start with Chossuh. How about you?
So my highlight is like I became a father 3 months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
nice.
So it's been really fun, but it's also a lot of hard work. So I've unfortunately not been able to spend as much time on Eve as I'd like to lately. But now that my daughter's calming down a little bit, I'm getting on a little bit more. So it's been really nice. And also like the Corp has been really supportive and stuff like that. So
in a few years, you could have her do her chores, like, you know, put the dishes away and go mine some mercocks.
Yeah, like little rock or something. That's what that's what she'll be doing.
I'm not sure what rock is. Maybe a subcap, right?
Yeah, you know, just the meme. But I guess like in Eve, it would probably be doing the AT for the first time. That was really fun, even though we got demolished and knocked out straight away. It was still really fun just to train up a team and fly with them, and just also do the scrims. They were great fun. So probably those 2 events were the highlights. You know, that kind of straight away leads to Casper, right? Very easy one. That must be the AT, right?
Well, yeah. I'm gonna say winning the AT obviously was high on there, But something not so well known, actually just the announcement the AT was back is probably even higher. I had unsubbed everything. Casper was unsubbed. I had given away most of everything, and I was pretty done with this video game that we're not talking about. And then this announcement came up, and the first reaction was, "Son of a beep beep beep! Now I got to get some money." So I had to like work and get some money back to like fund and everything. But just the fact that it was back was probably a bigger highlight than even winning it, just because it gave me a reason to play, and our whole group actually like energized everything. The whole tournament scene was pretty cool. So that was even bigger for me than winning it.
How many of the like high level AT guys are actually like playing for the AT only? You think, like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, you do stuff on the side, but that's not really the focus. Like, how many? What do you say, like, percentage wise?
Well, our group's pretty small. Are you talking about just our group or like the whole kind of?
I mean, there's like, let's say 2, 3, 4 teams, right, that are always high level competing with each other. So that kind of group, right? The guys that are like always in the finals, like, basically.
The head honchos definitely always come back. The biggest one I think that didn't really come back this year was Suleiman. But most everybody, like for our team, Hart, Duncan, Kadesh was unbanned. So like our head honchos all came back, and they don't do anything but play on tournaments, and you don't even see them. So we had to like tell them what trig guns were.
Yeah.
We had to tell them what command desks were. We had to tell them about link changes. We had to tell them about all these things that they had never seen.
That was fun,
so, like,
too, probably.
The first month and a half of tournament for us was just reteaching these nerds what like spooling guns were and all this nonsense. So it was definitely a fun experience.
It's super impressive, and this is something that always caught me, is like the people who only play EVE for the AT are always on their game. Like if I stop FCing for a week, I have to take some time to get back into the swing of things. But to see guys like not play for a year and then come back and just get straight back into it and then win is crazy.
Yeah. So
it's definitely a lot of practice, right? A lot of behind the scenes practice. These guys, I'm gonna get yelled at this. They're complete dog shit when they first show up on the test server, straight out the arena, and he's like, "What'd I do?" So it might look like that because we show up tuned by tournament time, but in the background, honestly, it's just a shit show for the first month and a half. Real talk.
How many hours would you say that you put in just to practice before the AT actually started? Like from it being announced to.
So from the time that the rule set was dropped, and I forgot what month that was, Elias might be able to say it. We were practicing, so only like practicing, not the theory behind, 3 times a week, and then the 2 weeks before the tournament went to every day. So I don't know what that is.
How long a day?
Hours, but like 4 hours.
4 hours a day.
But it's definitely some time. We did some maths. If you had one Oracle pilot, back when Oracles were good, one Oracle pilot makes more money than winning the AT if you put that amount of hours into it.
That is insane.
You can't buy swagger with Oracles.
True story.
But if you would rock on mine for that long, over that period of time, you'd be insane too, right? It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. I guess you still chose the lesser evil. All right, so that was an easy one too. How about Asher? What was your highlights this year, you think? M2?
Actually, no. Well, the first M2 was actually technically last year.
Sure.
Only the second one was this year, and that was a turkey shoot. So, I'm big into Schadenfreude, so I'd say I'm thankful for enemies who will say things before they happen, like your idea is dumb, or that will never work, because those kind of personalities make things so much better. Everyone loves when an enemy person says, "Oh, this is a terrible doctrine," and then loses to it, or
make
whatever.
It work. Yeah,
those moments are really rewarding. They're actually much better. So you're defined by what you struggle against. So I'm thankful for good enemies. Those are much better than good moments.
You know what? That reminds me. I didn't even think about it, but I kind of like the moment that would be in my memory from this year would probably be the bomb runs. Even though, especially the second one, it wasn't the sexiest. It was pretty bad set up. But like, if you do the math, like, it all worked out. But you know, but it was also Chossuh, remember? We were on talking to Siku like 2 days before. Then the comment from PGL, that's exactly what you said, Asher, right? Comment from PGL, imagine being a top alliance and you don't have a Bomber FC. And then 2 days later, we wipe out like an entire fleet. And then the same day again, we do the biggest bomber in EVE history, basically, right? That was kind of fun. That was kind of, I cannot deny it. Like at the end of the day, like, yes, you know, the second run wasn't the sexiest run I've ever done, but it kind of was
the
done,
worst
right?
bomb run ever.
And we had to laugh.
Can't argue with results, right?
Just for the fun of it, I actually put on like the comms. Like I put on another video of it with our FC comms, where Shine's like, "What the fuck? How? Right? And I'm like, my first reaction was like, "Yeah, actually, that was actually a really bad one." But then if you go back, like I did stagger the squats and all that stuff, and the math works out. But man, a lot of luck was needed, and mistakes on the Papi side, obviously, you know. But
yeah, I had a similar moment. We when they were doing really well with Blaster Harpies, those Blarpies,
with the anti-fighter fighters.
Yeah, I told our guys to get SSF fighters, and we're gonna just nuke the Harpies. And some FCs, probably BGL was the loudest, but some FCs on the Pappy side were just saying that's the dumbest idea ever, and this is the quality of enemy that we're fighting, and then just got demolished by it. That was like a very satisfying moment, because they, like, when I'm fighting against someone, I usually try not to say any like big statements before anything happens. But I'm thankful that there are people who do that. Thank you so much.
But then you could also make the argument, what are the chances that, I don't know who said it, might have been Pickles, might have been someone else, but maybe he was aware, shit, that's the counter, and he was trying to kind of...
He was like double playing. He was like
exactly. He's just like trying to reverse your opinion on it just by like making a Reddit thread. Haha, look at these idiots, right? So maybe hopefully you wouldn't do it.
I mean, think about that. But if PGL says something's not going to work, you're going to be like, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, so I will continue to do it. So if you had someone else do it,
he's not that bad of an FC.
No, he's my favorite FC, actually. So I don't. I'm dead serious. PGL is my favorite FC in the game. Like, there is no better combination of all the traits that I enjoy in FC than PGL.
The dude is fun. Whenever I have him on, it's always fun to talk to him too. Like we had him on before the war, during the war, after M2 actually, right? You remember the first timer?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Chossuh, we had the discussion, I'm pretty sure it was you, that, you know, who is actually the winner of the first timer leading to the second timer, because nobody knew yet what's going to happen, right? And your point was like, well, we didn't lose. I think you lost 2 Titans less or so. I forgot what the first timer was exactly, but like our Titans are all positioned already, and you guys have the freedom of positioning and all that stuff. And I was like, well, technically the side that doesn't log in after downtime lost, right? That was my argument, right? Like if you don't log after downtime, you lost. And you're like, well, we didn't have to. And then the second timer came in, and I talked to Pickles and said like, hey, whatever happens, we gotta have a chat afterwards, right? And he agreed. And then, you know, obviously disaster happened for his side. And he did come on, and we talked about that. It was pretty fun, right? It was pretty fun. So yeah, you know.
Dude, that was horrific. Like I literally bought a Titan 30 minutes before the actual fight.
Oh no!
I jumped in, just died straight away.
Oh my god!
Oh no!
Yeah, I loaded, and like the rest of my corp actually managed to like Ghost Titan shit out. Yeah. So it was just me. No, me and another guy. I think so.
I remember when I got my first carrier, and this was when the carrier was a little more prestigious. I lost it about 25 minutes after I received it. So I can't really imagine what the first Titan losing it 30 minutes after you get it feels like. How long after you jumped in did you know before you loaded that it was probably done, or was there, like, how long was it before you guys kind of said this is already over?
I guess. Well, I actually didn't. I actually didn't check the grid. I had an ult in system, but I was warping over at the time that we actually went in. Once we loaded grid though, and I saw where we were, it was like, oh shit, you know, it's done. Just because on comms you saw everyone being like, you know, I've DC'd, I'm still in T5Z, all this shit. Like I'm taking damage, but I'm on the keep star in T5Z. You know, like all this random shit was happening, and at that point, you know, the grid's fucked. But
you know, like say the server had worked right effectively, like just say it was deep tie-dye, but normal huge tie-dye like thing. If that happened, you still can have these giant fights swing on one tiny thing. And for us, that one tiny thing was your Insinos warped uncloaked from the Fortizar to the spot and cloaked and warped. But in tie-dye, I mean, it's you know, so we were moving all those fighters, those heavy fighters, before the Sinos were even lit.
Yeah.
And so even
that was a major mistake. I mean, personally, I would have, if it was me, I would have gone on the Fortizar. Obviously, it's much less like
that was the only option. That was literally your only option.
But the thing is also, like, to counter that, going on a Fortizar is that you then risk having your fleet separated by bubbles and all this shit, and it's much harder to get. Not just, you know, because it's not just like a single alliance or a couple alliances, it's many alliances that are all sharing the same comms. Getting all those different FCs to like warp things over correctly to the right spot is a big challenge.
What I thought you guys gonna do is jump in on the fort, align over, and then throw your own bubbles that you have prepared to then use the bubble drag trick that we used on gates all the time, right?
Warp through bubbles, right? Yeah, exactly.
You know, at least you kind of land in the right spot. And then, you know, some people get bumped. If you lose a Titan or 2 or 5, who gives a shit at this point?
It's a rounding error with Owen, yeah.
But that's what I thought you're going to do. But, like, it was so... That's why I, like an hour before the timer, you guys lit the Sino. But, like, I don't know, an hour and a half, I was like, they don't have enough time to do that, right? So I thought it's not happening. But
I will say this. This is something that... Sorry, Chance.
I was just going to say, I think the circumstance, though, is just kind of... even coming in on the fort, it wouldn't have... exactly what Chossuh said, there was just too much to have to deal with. Like, as soon as one side hits grid first, that kind of decides it. Like, especially with the numbers both sides had.
Yeah.
I don't know, in hindsight, what could have been the right call. Maybe just say, like, guys, you just...
Blue balls!
Yeah. Well, blue balls... I don't know if that was an option either. Then you're trapped there. But I mean, you know, ended up
it's rough.
Trapped anyway.
It was a bad situation no matter what. I will say this. This is one thing that everyone who's participated in those battles from a leadership level is that there is no situation I'm aware of in a video game with that level of tension, build up, and release, either positive or negative, over a long period of time. Like, you can be in an amazing fight in any of the video game, dogfight, you know, battle at a MOBA, whatever. Like, or a PvP fight in EVE, like with a ET ship, like if it blows up, you're really upset. But that fight takes 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It's 5 minutes of pure terror. Whereas the intensity of the level, where like multiple days are happening between these fights, and you're prepping full time, all your free time is spent prepping for the next fight, and then
that's the fun part of the prepping part, I gotta say.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm saying that is something that if you haven't been in like a leadership position for those fights, there's no experience like it, like in video games. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah, all the ideas we were thrown around, like what could be done, right? What if they warp over too bunched up? Like, how about some real fucking lancing action, right? Like, imagine 50, 100 Titans just lancing shit. Ooh, the sexiness of those, like, that gets me excited. You know, it's like, I'm not a capital guy. Shines knows that very well. But hey, when it comes to like special boosts and shit, like, oh man. That's
Panda doesn't want to know anything about capitals until there's a fucking skill shot that he can like abuse.
That's very true.
Elias, I got a question for you. Just I don't remember if you were CCP at this time, but were CCP freaking out in the background, knowing all this that was going on and seeing the result of this, that people were stuck, or was it just like, it is what it is, nothing we can do about it?
I mean, I think they were like, for some of the ones they were watching like in real time. For the first M2 fight, I know there were some. I wasn't a CCPer then, but I know there were CCPers who were in Titans in that fight because they were talking about it after I joined. Like, some CCPers lost Titans in the first M2, but they thought it was like bonkers amazing because that's a once in a lifetime fight where everything just kind of fell together for some ridiculous reason. Like, it makes no sense that fight happens. Like strategically, who gives a shit about M2? That's like the 4th Keepstar that was shot. Like no one really thought it was gonna happen, and then like one side showed up, and the other side were like, "What's going on here?" And then they jumped in, and they just had this amazing fight. And the second one was slightly less amazing, like similar to Pando. I thought it was like I did not think it was gonna happen, just based on like an hour and a half before the fight. Like only one side had like gone in, so I was like, this is like I was doing coverage for Talking Stations, I think, and I was like, yeah, there's like 0 chance this fight's gonna happen. And then a Sino pops, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm just a bad FC. Like I did not guess how this is gonna work at all.
I mean, that was the thing for that first fight is, we, at least I kept saying that if there's no jammer, we're going to fight, right? And that was the first time that we had any chance of, controlling the jammer, and we didn't control it, but we had enough, to get in and start the, the action. And once we did that, I'm like, push in, like push the chips in, because I mean, I was saying it for months, and I had meant it every time. And there were a lot of people being like, oh, you're just posturing, right? I'm like, no, I'm not. If we can like not be jammed out, we will go. And so I never had a second of reservation for that. Like I was like, let's go in. Now we were loading into a Keepstar, so if we hadn't liked exactly what we saw, I wouldn't even say exactly. I would say if it was really bad for us, then we could have just said, all right, everyone dock up and then blue balls again, right? But we were willing to take a fight that we felt was disadvantageous to us. It's sort of like those when they drop the Keepstars in NPC Delve, and we lost a lot more in ISK than a Keepstar is worth to blow those up. But it wasn't about the ISK, and that fight was also not about the ISK. If we had like lost 20 more Titans than they had, but we had made a stand, like that was a fine like thing for us. And so that we came out, I think we ended up like 3 ahead at the final count. That was like amazing for us. We were really pleased with that.
And I don't want to go backtrack too much, but like my favorite fights in that entire war were the like the NPC, like the YZ9 like Keepstars trying to online. Because like the meta changed every 2 days. Like every 2 days, these FCs were like trying completely new tactics. The first one was just like throw everything we got at it. The second one was like, I can figure out how to do this a little bit cheaper, a little bit more efficiently. And the third one was like, I know exactly what I have to do every 2 minutes. It was and it was insane.
It was so hard. Remember, Asher, like on the first time, or maybe like the first 2 or whatever, I tried to convince you so hard that like, let's just us do the DPS and you just cover and then get them stuck in a fight and stuff. But you're like, no, we can't do it. And then it got expensive, right? Because we were all just busy hitting and Papi had like all the time in the world and just like free reign and just kill everything.
The math doesn't work. Like if the Keepstar took 10% of the damage that that it needed to take, and then initiative could just shoot it and would easily pause it fully. But for whatever reason, when you get in that deep tie-dye, you need like 1,000 times, or like 1,000 times more damage than the numbers would say to get a full pause for whatever reason.
Yeah, but we refined our approach after what. And Chance, before you say anything, that was also funny. Like I already took like a little bit of a backseat like during the war. I was more like of a supportive FC. We had enough FCs anyway. But then suddenly for those fights, like, yeah, Pando, you go do it, right? It's like, okay, I'm the guy who's like gonna feed like a trill worth of ravens now, yeah? It's like it's so unfair.
The fun part that I found for that was that you're trying these different things and then you can just hear the change on comms where it's like, fuck, it starts ending in dreads. So it's a dread every minute.
Yeah, I also remember Bliss coming back saying like, stop feeding those dreads. I'm like, dude, we're almost there. We gotta feed one more and another one and another one.
You've done 90% of the dreads. Like when you're 90% of the way on a 13-hour fight, you can't just stop. Like you're in for a penny, in for a pound there. Yeah. That was actually one of those really good moments. When people, like I said, when people say you have a dumb idea, we actually tried to do this when they were 1 jump out of Delve. And I set up all these bookmarks for bombers to bomb the Keepstar. And I do not understand, especially then, I didn't understand sharing bookmarks. and some really enterprising spy.
remember
I
that.
spent 13
yeah,
hours
I remember
burning
that.
bookmarks around the Keepstar that they dropped. Spent 13 hours doing it. Stayed up all night. I shared the bookmarks, and then some enterprising spy on their end, we'll never know who, I don't think, because there's not a log of this, just realized that I had just shared the folder, basically, with full rights, and they went, boop, and deleted it. And they deleted 13 hours of my work 5 minutes before it started.
Yeah.
I have
That's
not
funny.
been more dejected. But what was really nice was that a lot of the Pappy people came out and said bombing the Keepstar, that's like the dumbest idea ever. And by the fifth one, they were bubble wrapping it to stop all the bombers, like specifically to stop the bombers. So that was one of the things where I was like, yes, really happy with that one.
Yeah, and then the
When I-
scepter meta, right?
Just like to mention one of those keep stars that died was actually called the Cap F star, and
Oh.
it was named after us because we had like let's say like an unpaid debt from fraternity, and we were very disappointed that you guys killed that one.
That's our edge.
Yeah.
What was it?
But to get us back on track,
Yeah, like the year in review. We're an hour into the year in review and haven't
Exactly, we
reviewed
haven't
the
even
year.
started yet.
we're on the previous year. Like obviously the things that I'm like really happy for. I joined CCP. That's really, really fun. People might think I'm bullshitting, but it's incredibly rewarding to wake up, go to a job that you don't hate. You have fun. I probably read the Eve subreddit more than anyone else at the company, and I still find joy in my day. So that should
Wow.
tell you how
That is
nice it
pretty
is.
impressive.
Also, Reykjavik's a beautiful country. I moved here in the beginning of September from Florida.
It's
Before
not
that, I lived
miserable
in
in
Manhattan.
winter.
It's not so bad, man. Like it was
Man.
really pleasant. I don't know why these crazy Icelanders say it's so bad. I will say that in 2 days, the sun will only be up for roughly 80 minutes. So that's kind of a weird downer. My second favorite thing of the year, I'll just go real quick, is the Alliance Hornet coming back. Like CCP Aurora had pretty much already finalized the project before I even got in the door, but being able to take part in it from like a CCP level, her and I did basically all of the work for the points, and it was like, oh shit, is the meta gonna suck? Is it gonna be like the same setup that wins every time? And we were just like super worried about how that was gonna play out, and to have that not be a shit show was amazing. Watching just like the level of talent in the teams was just so rewarding. Yeah, and it was really, really, really good. And the third thing that I'm really grateful for is Jay Amazingness yesterday taught me how to turn off Wibla pings.
Can you teach me how to do that?
He pinged it out to everyone. But yeah, the last one's kind of a joke, but not really. That was really nice to get those turned off.
All right. Then how about Shiny Boy? I think we covered it.
Yeah, I've got two. The first one, I guess the serious one, is the 2nd of August when the war was basically coming to an end. The fleets had all gone into the 1DQ constellation. And we had killed the brave Tengu fleet, and we chased off the NC Loki fleet in the constellation. And then we bridged into T5ZI and set up a camp on the 1DQ gate to cut off reinforcements. So that was already cool enough.
That relief,
but then,
right?
yeah, we got word that the first Keepstar had started on anchoring, and just the relief, just because there have been so much pressure and tension, and all these things throughout the year with the war, and it was like everything just got lifted at once when we knew that the war was kind of coming to an end. And I didn't stop smiling until I think it was about 2 days later. I was still smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sent me some nude photos that time, first and only time. It was I'm so happy you were.
Wait,
Yeah,
you sent it to him too? What the fuck?
The second one was the Alliance tournament. We put a team in, got absolutely fucking deleted in the first round, the first match, and
was it Casper? No, it wasn't.
No, it was Psychotic Tendencies. Came out with a video then for the next for the finals where I featured heavily in it, so that kind of made me happy as well.
We have some history with Tissue for sure.
Their
Yeah.
local
Wasn't
Smack
like a-
Talk
wasn't
was good.
Wasn't it a meme comp that one as well?
It was it was
Yeah.
it was the Sleipnir rush. We were in
Oh, right, yeah,
TFIs and
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
We just got fucking demolished.
Well,
Yeah.
you can't all be a winner. It's like that's how it goes. Someone gotta lose those matches.
Yep.
But
Could we like engineer a situation where we have like two sets of enemies, one system apart with keep stars in both systems? Because that was fun. Not necessarily the rest of it, but just being directly next door. You could undock, jump one gate, and there was probably a gate camp, or like you could at least shake your caracal's tail end a little bit and get some people to try and come tackle you, like whenever you wanted, just on demand. That was fun. The rest of it, maybe less so, but I like
I
that
thought
part.
it was pretty quiet for how many people were
Yeah.
involved, to be quite honest.
I think
Like,
everybody.
often there were spats where like the only content that I had for myself was just to fit up a probing bomber and just tackle shuttles that were just pinging around and making purchase and shit. I think in one day I killed like in a 2-hour period I killed like 17 shuttles just by decloaking on them.
Yeah, every now and then I took over like a super, like a below 25, like a Bush kicky fleet kind of, right?
Yeah.
And just like, clean up the grid a little bit. And sometimes it was really fun, sometimes it was stressful as fuck. But like in general, I thought it wasn't as busy as you would expect if the two, like let's say 80% of nullsec are just one jump from each other. I would have expected more, to be honest.
You couldn't, like, if you formed a real fleet, then they would form a real fleet, but also ping for their carriers. So now you're like, well, I can't let them form carriers without us forming, because if they get the drop on us, then we're not formed. So we ping the carriers, then like so then they ping. Goons are forming carriers, logging your supers. We're like, well, we can't let them form supers without us getting our Titans online. So there was actually sort of a simmer down mechanism where you had to like be like, I'm just in a caracal fleet. We're just here to have a little fun. Please don't form your carriers.
Yeah, but then there's that one guy who jumps over with a horde red reapproaches just to poke him. It's like, oh my god. No, yeah, well, I don't know. I don't think that's everyone's kind of thing. Like, I wouldn't say no to it, but I don't remember that as like the ultra like content, to be honest. I'd rather have like more medium-sized groups, and you know what, I thought about doing like making a list of like alliances that actually disbanded this year, just to give them the last shout out. But I honestly, like, I didn't remember all of them. I do remember like now Evictus because it's so recent, right? But I don't know some other alliances that disbanded over the year. And merge into bigger groups, I think that's a little bit of a sad development, which from the start, which was my biggest point against this war. When it was first announced, I was like, dudes, what are you doing? Like, you're pushing everyone into those big groups, including us, right? I kept saying that. I'm like, dude, you always asked, why is Init still an Imperium? Like, this is why, guys, right? It's just like, I don't get it.
There's a ravine in Eve, and you've got people like Casper who are small enough that there's no punishing him, right? He can just go somewhere else, right? And then you've got people like Horde, like Goons, who are big, and the gap between them, the ravine, when you're small enough that you cannot defend yourself, but big enough to be noticed and be a threat, it's really hard to jump the chasm. It's really hard to cross that. And I don't know that there's actually, human nature being what it is, I don't know that there's a way to stably form those groups and not have them be hoovered up by the larger groups, because I don't think there's a stable arrangement with medium groups, because it always makes sense. If you're a medium group, you're fighting another medium group and you're losing, you either lose or you ally with someone. But once you ally with someone, the other group you're fighting also allies with someone. It always leads to this bigger arrangement. Yeah. And I don't think it exists except in our heads.
Well, so the thing is, what Eve would need then to counter that is there needs to be more new smaller and medium groups coming up that then, replace the medium group that just became bigger by like affiliating themselves with like a coalition or whatever, right? So you need new stuff to replace it. That's basically...
From my time in Eve, like every time a medium group has like vanished into the wayside, it's just because they've had like the dudes who keep the alliance running and the people who create the content day to day, like they just have 1 or 2 people just are like, I can't do it anymore. Like I'm done. And no one kind of like fills in that void. So they're just like, well, the remaining guys can do 5 times more work, or we can just join our friends over here. And that's what happens. Like it's, like you said, Ben, like we just need new blood coming in to like kind of fill in those gaps. Because even if those medium-sized groups are impermanent, if they exist for like even a few months, they create so much fun content. Like we saw it when the war broke out and all those groups kind of moved into like the north, and they just kind of goofed around. They were all medium sized. They had a good amount of fun. They were like flavor of the month for a few months, and then like 1 or 2 dudes left, and they're just like, "Hey, gotta close up shop. See you guys later."
Yeah. All right. All right. Should we actually start with the recap with the stuff that I wrote down that we were actually, how long we're in an hour 12 in, right? Let's see. We're just gonna run through this. Maybe you've got some interesting points about stuff, and then just interrupt me. But I'm just gonna go down the list that I made, and let's see. All right. So in January, M2 is on the list. We talked about M2 already. Way too much, probably. But then also Fleet Finder changes. That might not impact a lot of people, but I think like Bjornby and like people that do MPSI fleets and Jita and stuff, I think that might have had like a pretty positive impact, actually. Because it's way easier for people in, wherever to find like open fleets and shit like this, right? And then I'm not sure why I wrote down war bonds in January. Was it in January where we first started war bonds?
Yeah, immediately after M2.
Oh, yeah, true. That's why I wrote it down. Which, like, was also an interesting thing, development in the whole war, I think, right? That we start war bonds.
I think that's actually one of the... Isn't that one of the most interesting things that, like, that is the thing that'll probably be written the most about out of this war is war bonds, because economists are going to want to study that, right? Like that'll be something where it has a real world impact, and probably people will be talking about that 5 or 10 years from now, citing it, in secondary papers, after we're done talking about this war pretty much ourselves.
I don't know if it's the most talked about, right? But it's definitely like a very interesting, if you compare to the real life. There's definitely a connection there, right?
How much ISK was raised for the war bonds?
I think we raised 18 or 20 trillion. I think somewhere around there.
That's a fucking number.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
So are these like donations, or do you?
No, it's a bond that we pay interest
back
on
at some point.
Yeah,
or...
yeah.
Right.
We start paying back. Like we committed to pay just interest until next month, but next month we can start paying off principal if we choose to.
Yeah, and how much did we?
Jesus Christ!
I forgot how much.
That's a lot of money.
Got in it, maybe
we got 2.6 trillion.
Yeah, and then we had to cut it off because we would never be able to pay it off otherwise, right?
Yeah, I mean, this was the thing. The risk with war bonds is that you're asking people for money that you're promising you're going to pay back, but the war has already been going for 6 months. You've just lost how many Titans, and there has to be because I mean, you don't want to ask people for their money, right? The money that they've spent how much time earning in game, and then just turn around and say, oh well, look guys, we lost the war, sorry, your money's gone. That's not very
shout out to all the guys that like put that trust in the Alliance. They were just willing to do that extra. Like they might have already lost a Titan in M2, it wasn't even paid back yet, and then Warbond started, they're like, fuck it, here, I have my money, let's go, right? There's some crazy dudes out there, right?
It's a withdrawal of social credit, right? That's like, you've built up with the people who fly with you a certain amount of credit and trust, right? And you're withdrawing from that. You're saying, hey, if you value this, then you can pay for this. And the response was, frankly, I think beyond what anyone imagined. So it was very heartening, at least. Like, you've all seen Fairweather Friends in real life and in video games, and it's a lot easier to be a a fair weather friend in a video game where you can just not log on, not see someone. But when you say, "Hey, here's a chance to put your money where your mouth is," and they overflow you with money, it's just raining like you're at a strip club. That is it was a really neat feeling.
I know you guys cut the war bonds off because
Yeah.
it was the same as us. We set a limit, and then anything that went above that, we had to return because you get to a point where you're not confident anymore that you can repay it if things go badly, right?
Yeah,
Did you give the bros like special icons on? I don't know if you use TS or Mumble or whatever for like the big donations so they can swag about it, or is it just all like, oh, I did this?
I think we gave them a forum, a little picture on the forum or something.
Yeah.
I think we did that. Yeah.
That's cool.
We unfortunately didn't.
I'm still pushing for the internet premium though. You know, that was a fun idea. I still thought that was a fun idea. You know, the internet premium membership. People can just like pay some ISK and then they get some access, get some insight and stuff.
So
they can
sexy panda photos.
How much would I have to make on an OnlyFans to pay off 20 trillion? Like, how much money to flex is that for my OnlyFans?
There's only one way to find out. Right?
Only pandos.
Only pandos. That's epic.
Oh my god.
Cricket. Legend.
Now, Cricket. We should mention Cricket when we're talking about this year. Dude, Ragnarok is killing some shit,
get
right?
Cricket on the stream, man. Like to talk
I will one day.
I will
one day. Yeah. Ragnarok going around in fraternity space.
Shooting blobs and stuff with it.
Yeah,
Marauders.
Marauders and
Marauders, right?
Yeah. The sneakiness on the highest level. Yeah.
Cricket wants to link some of the videos in chat. I guess he can. And then
the first time it's pretty safe. You know, if you do it, nobody expects it. So yeah.
Dude,
I thought the first time, yeah. But then
he
did it again and again. I was like, holy shit.
They're hunting him like crazy, man. Like, it's ridiculous how much.
Yeah, I think he stopped, right? He's like, let me take a break.
Yeah. But it's so good.
When GOTG was in Declan, we had a Ragnarok in one of their systems in there, just floating in a safe. And we would just log the Ragnarok in, warp to it, and it would bridge us onto their fleets in Declan. And we were always worried that like one of the sabers in our fleet would just throw up a bubble right then, you know, and they would come to sign up, but it never got caught. So, but it is really intense. I was usually flying Ragnarok. So
like what we do courtrooms quite a lot in CapF, and one of them Cricket, we were just like I think we'd gotten like a Marauder on the fraternity staging one of the gates, I think 8TPX or something. And so we Cricket brings this rag in to DD it, and then warps off and cloaks up in system, right? So they start trying to like deploy mobile observatories to try and decloak them and stuff. But anyway, like as we're extracting, Cricket's like, wait guys, wait a sec, guys, let me just meme on these people, and they formed like a fleet to like counter our little small gang stuff. And then they're all protecting a mobile observatory on Lining, which is the one that they're trying to use to obviously decloak him. So like just before as we're ready to leave, we all stack on gate. Like, and then Cricket just warps his Titan in to the mobile observatory 100, and then just sounders out like a Chad the moment he lands. And like, and it's being streamed as well. So like the streamer that's from fraternity that's streaming it is just like losing his mind. It's so good.
He didn't kill the observatory. That would have been Chad's.
Yeah, I think he actually said afterwards that he was he should have done that.
He missed out. Yeah,
just one shot the observatory. Those things are so weak.
They're not that weak, to be honest.
Came out? Are they? Okay, I don't remember.
You
remember when Cat Flux Coils came out and some guy jumped in low sec, he jumped his Titan like right in front of the enemy fleet and held his invuln while he recharged. This is before jump aids. And like the Cat Flux Coils took him up from 33 to 72 while he was still invuln, then jumped back out.
We did that once on a move up, remember, Shines?
Yeah.
And then there was a PL hick or two on our Cyno, and our supers would kept jumping in, and they fucking load. And then it's a miracle. It really is that everyone was just like calm enough to just chill, wait. All right, jump cap, jump out, right? Because it was low sec, he couldn't bubble. That was a fucking a ballsy move too.
February Marauder changes.
Correct. That's on the list. Marauder changes. You know, I'm kind of torn. Like, I don't know if they're that great. I like that they're in space, but man, do they end some fights, right? They
Yeah,
land on grid, and then a lot of times it's like
small gang.
GG, you know.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
too quick too. Like, it's not like you can outmaneuver them easily. They MJD after you and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you have to have like a couple systems in between to actually then consider taking another fight.
I'd always had this sort of pipe dream of making a kiting Vargar fleet, because Vargars are the only battleships, artillery battleships, with a tracking and a range bonus.
It's crazy.
There's
right?
no other battleship like that, and they're actually pretty fast if you get them out. And they made the changes, and the Bastion changes basically sped up your gun cycle time, but they slowed down it to compensate. So I was never going to use Bastion, but now the Vargar guns cycle every 23 seconds. So without Bastion, so it's like you're getting 4 shots a minute. Now the shots do have like 15k alpha, but still, I just can't fly a 2 billionist ship in a fleet that has 150k EHP and fires 4 shots a minute. It's sad.
And then you're winning a fight for like 10 minutes straight, but then like 2 guys
lose
fuck
one
up
ship.
and you lose the ISCO anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you guys think? Like, Casper, what's your take on it? Like, as a small scaler, Marauders, like, big fan, not so
When they
much?
first came out, they were pretty much just a bitch, and we hated them and whined about them. And then there was that little nerf bat that happened. I don't know what month that happened, and honestly, I even forgot what happened. But anyway, whatever. And now it's just like, hey, there's Marauders here, and we actually hunt them just because it makes money. And so when you're ready for them, it's no big deal. Obviously, you can't go to like frat staging because they bring 40 of them, and there's
Yeah.
literally nothing we can do. But now they're not so big of a deal, and we bring a curse, and it's just like whatever, 1, 2, 3 of them. So I don't think there's any issues with them now.
All right.
I think if you're like set up for them, it's okay. But if you're just
Yeah, if you're in 10
20
caracals,
20 dudes
yeah,
in like a
you're done.
T3C gang or whatever, then it's or T3D gang or whatever. It's a bit of a
Well, yeah,
just because
but
they tank so much, man.
they are nice to see in space again, right?
Yeah.
And flying a Vargar is really fun. Like Artie Vargar is just a ton of fun. You jump into a gang, MJD off if they don't have a scram, and like Bastion, blah 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 blah. Wait for it to end MJD again, and you're like, I'm out.
Hearing that kill mail sound after you just push the button one time. Is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it feels even when it's like a cruiser. Like I
Dude, it
one
feels so
tapped
good.
an O&I once. I was like, oh yes.
Well, it became
It's
the
just so
meta
gratifying.
for a minute inside the ESSs. ESSs are somewhere on the list too, by the way, because the reserve banks were opened this year. It became the meta a little bit, and then Björn took it to another level and took like, I think 20, 30 CCP guys all in Vargors. Right? That was craziness too. We tried golems actually. But man, application sucks if you're way in the painter fall off. If you push too far away from, like, you're not painting enough, you can't apply, and then might as well bring a Raven, right?
Did Hydras come out this year? The implant set? Is that something we could have had on there? Because the
Ooh,
golems plus the Hydras, those are our guys have been doing that memeing.
What do the Hydras do?
Missile range.
I didn't even know about that.
And your guys are all over those because it's Hydras.
Yeah, I forgot what it is. Maybe like 230 kilometer golem cruise range. So you just sit out the bubble and just kind of like pop things that come in. It's kind of fun.
No.
I went roaming last night with 10 Vexers and one Augurer. So it was really, like, we were really overpowering everyone, obviously, with our 10 Vexers and one Augurer. And we roamed for like 4 hours and literally got no one to come fight us. Like, we were going to the SSs, and then I'm just like, all right, let's just go home. I'll just try to see if we can get a filament home. And I'm like, well, there's one more. We go to this one more, and a Vargar just comes through the acceleration gate. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm like, I don't even care. I didn't care if he wiped us or if we killed him. It was just nice to have anything to shoot. And this guy, I guess, yeah, he didn't know, but I had just stuck 4 newts in the highs on the Vexer. And so 10 Vexers running 4 newts. He capped out pretty quick, and we got a Vargar kill mail. Didn't lose anything. It was
Serious, nice.
That's pretty nice.
It was so nice to get a kill. It was very quiet. Like I have not played basically for 2 months. And so I like messaged Reavers like, who wants to go for a roam? And like we roamed for like 4 hours, and space was, oh my gosh, so empty. It was wild.
It was USTZ. USTZ is always pretty dead.
Yeah, US teams at times always struggling at the moment. Yeah. What you gonna do? So March was fleet formations. That was pretty impactful, actually. You know, Chossuh and I and Siku, we talked about that before. And we had also, right at the start of it, we had an episode of FC Chat, like with predictions and stuff. And you know, the small scale camp was very worried about, like, hey, how about kiting? You can just like warp in front of them. I remember, Casper, you were not a big fan, but Suetonia was even more outspoken against it. But it seems like it wasn't really.
It's been what, a year almost? Now, whatever, so many months. It's never affected us yet. Nobody's used it against us. I don't know if they just can't. They don't know how. They're too lazy.
No one
I don't
uses
know.
them.
Yeah, I think so. What it is, it's, you know, you have to be precise and quick to set it up, and then you have to use it. You have to have the skill on top of it. I think a lot of people, like especially at the beginning, didn't have the skills for it.
I had a setup for the
It's just
final
not worth the
invasion of
headache.
I had a setup for the final invasion of 1DQ. Like, I have this fleet formation and fleet comp that I was sure was like going to just decimate, and it didn't happen. So I've just been sitting on it. I never got to use it. I was so excited, like, because and I feel like formations have been very underused by FCs.
True.
I think there's a lot you can do with them. It does require some fiddling at the start, and you have to think about it. You know, you have to be prepared for it.
Yeah, especially for bombers and stuff. I think so. First of all, obviously, fleet formations nerfed bombers like big time in fights. Like, you can't really land bomb runs anymore, because the moment when they warp in, they're already like spread out and stuff. You never get that.
But
chance.
how many lazy FCs are whooping at points still? Like, it still happens.
It still does happen.
Not on the big scale.
But yeah, and then banking on it, you know.
Yeah,
are you going to form a fleet to then be ready to then sit on grid, and then nothing happens, and then you go home and it's like, ugh. But there are still ways with and that's what we talked about that one time too, with formation warps, with the relative warp and stuff. And there's some good ways to still use it, but obviously you need more opportunities for that to actually get good enough at it to then actually have a good chance of working it. Like, so, and that's what I feel like is missing.
Can you bomb and then conduit jump instant out? Is that a thing? Can you just be a line quote and conduit jump out?
It is now.
I never thought about it. It's a good. I mean, it's awesome. It's an awesome idea until your blobs gets long pointed. Like,
you know
it's
what,
really
I think though.
Until one long point against your blob.
Well, at least all the bombers
ECM
get
burst.
Yeah,
not far enough.
Well, you can hold your invul with the blobs, but if there's a bubble up, you know, it's gonna be awkward.
But conduit jump is new too, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It feels really good. I love that change. Like, it feels cool. It's just a great change.
Yeah.
You remember? Yeah. Remember Elo Knight Hack in a Box? Like, the thing about like 4 years ago, where he was going to move hacks, like, and then assemble rigs. Yeah. And jump viters, then have a hack inside, assemble them, rig them on spot so you can move a hack fleet around the galaxy. The conduit jump is sort of like getting closer to that idea of being an actual reality. I tried to do a Tengu fleet like that once, and this was before conduit jumps, and I was like, it was like a really great idea until I had to fuel the blops, and you realize Tengus take a ton of fuel, so you're bringing like 8 fuel trucks to move like 30 Tengus. Yeah, so that sort of killed that. But with conduit, maybe.
I mean, it's cheaper, right? Conduit's a very fuel efficient way of jumping.
Yeah, I would say though, you would never do it with bombers. Like, from my experience, right? I would never do like the warper blobs in bomb and then conduit jump on, because you kind of want to keep the bombers around. You know, you don't want to bank on that one run that hits. Like, why even jump out then?
Move,
you know.
Do bombs hit if you're not in system anymore? I don't
That's
know.
actually what I wanted to say too. I think that probably doesn't work then, right?
Yeah, they probably won't. I mean, they don't if you die. So
yeah. And it's probably the same check, right? I actually really hate that about missiles. I wish missiles would hit after you hit warp. I don't see why they don't. But if you warp after you fire a missile and it would hit someone, but you're in warp, they just don't damage it. Like, oh, the missile hit the ship.
Online then.
Right?
Nano subs all day.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's
I don't know. All right, what else do we have on the list? CCP Swift was born in March, right? We talked about that already. Oh yeah. Also, another point that also was brought up in that discussion about the fleet warp, the formations, is why is the minimum warp range 160, 150 still? Like, why wouldn't it be 300, the lock range, right?
At CCP.
Yeah, I honestly think it's a legit point, and I have not yet come up with a point against it, really.
Wait, what's this? You want the warp range to be doubled? Like you can't short warp?
Yeah, you can't, like, you
If
cannot
you can
warp to something
shoot
that's closer
further
to
than minimum warp distance, and that's dumb. That takes out all mid-range gameplay.
Yeah.
Because everything can apply. So why don't you increase the minimum warp distance so there's that area of new mid-range, which is now our long range, and it invites a whole other level of gameplay and theory crafting.
I like that idea. That's cool. Yeah, I never heard that before, but I like that.
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about it last time, I think, with Seeker, right?
Yep.
So
we talked about that.
You guys are saying that the minimum warp range should be 300 kilometers, not 150 kilometers.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can only
It'll cause a few issues, but yeah, overall it's
I wonder.
Idea. I like that.
I like, honestly, I wonder what issues it would cause, right? You never know. Like, it's a complex game.
When you think about yeah, for sure. When you think about it, old grids sometimes were like only 300 kilometers across, right? So 150 had to be done, but now with like 9,000 kilometer grids, that would be more doable.
Yeah, dude. The other day on stream, I made for fun because everyone was complaining about like recent changes and stuff. I was like, what were actually the best changes ever? And that was one of them, like the grid expansion. That was mind-blowing back then.
I do miss messing with grids. That was so much fun as the
I know.
with you big guys. That was a blast.
The worst part of grid foo was like you don't see anything and then bombs just appear. Here's 30 bombs. There's no bombers. There's just 30 bombs have just appeared on the grid.
Oh, yeah, in a bubble, but you don't see a bubble.
React.
Yeah, I once slow-boated my Titan through a broken grid, and so the bubble wasn't there anymore, and just jumped out, and I was like,
no.
That was like some huge bullshit. The worst, though, was I don't know how they did it, but every time we fought Solar Fleet, all of their iHubs were positioned on grid break lines. Yes. So you'd send the fighter bombers off it, and then half of them would go off grid, and then it'd have to come back to you. So you couldn't use fighter bombers or supers to kill the iHubs. It was just so infuriating.
You know, we were staging G-O in Curse for a long time, and that grid is also fucked because right in front of that main station there's a moon, and then the grid is super close to the station undock. So if you warp to an instant undock, you're already 100 km off the station, 200 or 150 or so. You're already off grid. So there was always, just by nature, the grid was so messy there. Oh my god, that was such a headache at times, but it was fun too.
There's a few weird grids like that. Like there's one NPC station in Venal, I think it might be PF something, where the moon is right in front of the undock. Yeah. So if you undock and cloak, so you warp off the undock and cloak, you just get decloaked because you fly through a moon every time you undock, basically.
Yeah, there's a couple of systems like that.
I wonder if someone just wrote in chat, it's quite easy for us to just try this 300 kilometer idea, just for a little bit on test server, or even just live.
Just why not?
Swift. Do you think that's just one thing in the system? Their code, do you think it's just 1x equals 150?
It's probably just that, right? It can't be that crazy. Do the test.
I would not say it's that easy. I have no idea. I've never touched something
if it is that easy, I question the design of the code.
Well, you question the design of the 20-year-old code. Yeah, okay.
But
I've worked with codes which are 50 years old, mate. So
But you see, we get events right now, the snow, what's it called again? The ice event thing.
The Winter Nexus, please get it right.
I'm sorry, the Winter Nexus. Then we have other NPC events and stuff like this, right? But how about a PvP kind of event like this, saying hey, how about we do for a week or two, we just expand the minimum warp range. See what you want to do with it. If you like it, we keep it. That would be fucking nice.
But the downside is if you're in the middle of a conflict, this is how I feel about those storms.
Then everyone has to adjust and place the same rules anyway.
You're like, CCP just screwed me. They just intentionally screwed my group because they don't like us.
There'll always be someone.
Another thing was it's just changing the way you have to play, right? So it's rather than you playing statically and kind of your mindset, then you have to think of something new to deal with this new curveball.
I love that like League of Legends meta changes every 2 weeks. Like they do something. It just makes the game more interesting. You can't do every 2 weeks in EVE like where people have to
That'd be crazy.
do a production line, and make for
Maybe have a year, though.
doctrine. But I would love to see more changes more quickly, make people adapt more. Yeah. Because what happens is you get into these, everyone hates Munins and Eagles right now, except if you hate Munins and Eagles. But if it's like Casper saying it's gonna be before anyone in the chat.
Dude, I don't even form them, right? China knows. I don't even like. I mean, sure, there's some.
Do you guys remember when Macarios were ascendant and like literally everyone was like, "I cannot stand Macarios," and before that it was like, "I'm so tired of Ishtars," and before that it's like, "All we fly is Tengus." Like, the thing is, it'll always settle into that meta until someone grabs the snowball and shakes it up, right?
You'll never hit that sweet spot where like all the groups fly different stuff. Like it's impossible.
You have to shake it up. Like you have to shake it up. Yeah. So I would love for that to be much more frequent because we're going to keep flying Munins and Eagles until something better comes along, and then we're going to fly whatever that's better until something better comes along, and it'll be like that forever. So let the people who are like clever and smart try to come up with new ideas. Some of them will fail tremendously. Some of them will succeed.
I love Ishtars
Some of those will be copied. Yeah.
Ishtars hold a sacred place in people's heart.
Definitely, dude.
Ishtars are fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah, we gotta be honest. Like we were really good at them. That's why we liked them. Like we figured it out. Like early on, we adapted super early, and we were really good at them. And it was super fun. And then there was like, also when it comes to Ishtar specifically, there's just a couple more dimensions to it. Because the drones are in one spot, the ships are in another. Then the drones can be countered or the ships can be countered. But we had like a cool team, right? Shines with like Fultz and all the other guys, like one anchor, one target caller. And then I would do maybe a little bomb squad, wiping hostile Ishtar drones out. Or like, man, it was a fun dynamic, right? It was just more happening, I felt like, in a fight. As
an FC, first off, hacks are much more fun to fly as an FC than Macarios were. They're more fun to fly than Tengus were. Like, as an FC, I'm saying, like, they require more out of you, and there is a higher floor. And a lot of FCs have gotten way better. I remember I used to do hacks before. A lot of people did them. And
they got way worse than everything else, though. I can tell you that.
Hacks before everyone. Yeah. But, like... people used to be really bad. FCs used to be like block FCs used to be really bad at them, and the floor has been raised a lot by people having a lot of reps in them.
But I tell you what, like whenever I take out the last the Gilas, right? Like as soon as the fucking Munins don't have the standard scenario, like it's always the same. I don't get it. Like they always make like these like I don't even want to talk about it and give everyone hints. Like
broken. I got dunked by Gilas. Like,
Gilas are fucking great.
Like 2 shots. It was bad.
They're fucking great.
I tell my fleets that if smart bombs didn't exist, Gilas would be
dominating
the number one skirmish doctrine of the game, and there's really nowhere like it's not even close.
Yeah,
like if your opponent's not prepared for you, Gilas are the best. But if they're prepared for you, they're pretty awful.
Yep, that is true. But I don't know why a lot of people are not prepared to counter Gilas. They're learning,
it's also,
though.
With the hack meta, everyone's just like, I've got to go fast. I've got to go fast here. I've got to get close. I've got to go fast. And then that doesn't really work that well against Gilas because,
they just own.
Yeah.
Hey, they're not that OP, all right?
They've been
nerfed
OP.
like 2 or 3 times.
They're not that OP. They don't even have an ADC. What are you guys talking about?
Absolutely.
Gilas used to be so busted, man.
They were.
They had like extra agility, extra slots, extra damage. Like the amount that they've been nerfed, and they're still super good. You're like, it's sickening.
Yeah. The thing is, they're super good to a certain scale. The second you go over like the 100 mark, man, Gilas are just gonna die. It's the same with the Onyxes, right? Chossuh, you guys had that Onyx doctrine ready to go for like that super cap brawl, but everyone kind of knew. You guys knew too that if they're primary, it's man, they're gonna die quick because there are ADCs and all that stuff, right? And it's the same with Gilas.
There were certain ships that for a year or two after people discovered them, they were so broken. I remember a stream a while ago where Elias and Laz were flying around in Orthreses, like release Orthreses, and that ship was so busted, and like you didn't have to be a real expert to make it look like just the most broken ship in the game. And if you were a real expert, it was like actually invulnerable, essentially.
Did we get
it was
stuck on
so
March?
We did.
Yeah.
We gotta move on, guys. We gotta move on. All right. Let's try to pick up the speed a little bit. We are March and we're like an hour 40 in. Let's try to get it done within 20 minutes, okay? Because like 2 hours is kind of the mark, all right?
April Gate to Stain.
Nothing to
That
say
is
about it.
correct. Gate to Stain is the point.
Good job.
I was
I
Well done.
actually,
R.I.P. Stain guy.
how much impact did it have? I don't know. That wasn't
There
that much
are other gates
impact,
too, like
right?
the big one is
There
the
was three
others, right?
Abspawn gate, right? The one that connects Cheetah back
Yeah.
to Amar, but slows
Oh, the
back.
gate camping one.
Yeah,
But how
yeah.
much
A lot of-
impact on the game did it have? I don't know.
I mean,
It
when
made it a
Yarja,
pain to move stuff from like Jita to Amar. It was a big pain. Like move big quantities of items because you can't go through there anymore. So you can't like freighter 5 jumps. You have to go like 38 around.
but with a new one, you can like just JF through it and you're fine.
All right.
It's not perfect, but it's better.
Then
I think even though the fact that new gates were added was really cool. It was something
True.
new, right?
people like, for example, Kendall has been asking for that for ages, that the topography of the game would change to a degree, like other things get added or removed with Pochvan and the gates, like Gate to Stain and so on. You saw that. I'm not sure if that was the. I mean, I didn't think it hurt or anything, but I think there could be like even cooler things you could do with this, but it's interesting to see, that's for sure. All right, let's move on. May. Siege of 1DQ, we kinda talked about that a little bit with the T3s and stuff, the last thing, right? Kinda shines highlights. Finally, everyone's relieved, at least on our side, everyone's relieved. I mean, probably on your side too, Chossuh, right? Everyone was relieved, like, okay, now it's over. Let's move on. Let's call it. And we had it.
I was getting quite tired.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go home and do small gang.
Nullification changes and mobile observatories. I'm not a fan of the nullification changes and the mobile observatories. I don't know. Like, any got big feelings about any of these?
I think the observatories are just annoying more than anything else. Like, they don't really stop people cloaky camping because there's already there's a guy in Returns that runs like 200 counts and he's logging in every day and still cloaky camping 3 regions or something. So it hasn't really like fixed that issue.
Yeah.
Because there's still people doing it like en masse. So yeah.
You know what?
That dude's just so good. He watches 200 clients vigilantly, and every time he gets decloaked,
So
he
skilled.
recloaks immediately. That guy has like 8 sets of eyes, and I am
Yeah, he's
proud
an
of him.
octopus. He's a true octopus.
It's amazing. 8 arms, 15 eyes, 3
Nobody
braids.
would get
Dude is
suspicious or
really
anything,
good at
right?
the game. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. He's very skilled.
Yeah.
All right. All right. CSM 16 was elected in June. As every year. I think, I don't know how, it's hard to tell always from the outside how good of a job they're doing, but
We had the best meta for like election videos this year ever. Kenny G, Brisk in a hot tub.
that is kind
like,
of true. There's some high
It
level
just kept getting good.
high level propaganda, not propaganda, what's it called? Election, like,
Materials.
yeah, I don't know. I forgot the word. But yeah, does anyone here plan on running for CSM 17?
There's going to be a huge chasm of
That's
people
not
who
big
can't
enough.
run anymore, right? So, what? Inominate can't run. Merc can't run. Gobbins can't run. Billy can't run. Is that? I should know this off the top of my
really?
head, but because of the what's it called? The
Aerith
term
rule.
limits. Yeah.
Just
Well, I did kind of
be
promise
tired of Aerith.
our guys that I would run. I'm not 100% convinced I should.
Do it.
You should do it. It's actually really good. I know the CSM gets a lot of shit. A lot of it's undeserved. Almost all of it's undeserved. I can toot my own horn a little bit. I get to run the CSM program. They just got out of a Q&A with Hilmar that lasted 2 hours. And I think they liked it. I mean, you can ask your CSM people if they liked it or they found it valuable. They won't bullshit with you. But I mean, I thought it was really cool. and a lot of good stuff came out of it. They're also getting involved a little bit earlier on in the design process as well for a lot of things.
All right. Yeah. I think I might just do it. Right? People have been pushing for that for a while. I might just do it. All right. And then July, reserve banks unlocked.
Huge disappointment.
You thought it was a disappointment? I kind of like the way the reserve banks work.
I hate it. I thought you were going to be able to rob a lot of money and actually force people to come and defend you, so you don't walk away with a lot of money, and instead you get a trickle over a long period of time. It's not at all what I assumed reserve bank meant. I thought you were robbing the bank and stealing the money in the bank, not siphoning a small amount of gas out of the gas tank.
But at the same time, that would have been a big disappointment in my book if you just go in and then let's say there's a 50 bill bank and then fraternity, for example, right? Or like whoever, Horde or goons. You just go like, oh, let's rob our bank and then get the 50 bill and move home. Like that's what would happen if that would just like that. So I don't know. I like the way they work. Honestly, I get good fights out of them personally. Obviously you can't
I like them.
do it solo all that easy.
Yeah. I think
But
small content is pretty good.
The small medium content is good because we can actually build a little bit bigger stuff than when we normally can. We can do like 4 or 5 cloaked paladins or something with like a bait Myrmidon Ishtar fleet at 0, and we can have like 30 guys, which is huge for us. That's really big. But this is the only way we can get preformed set up
and then reliable
like this,
content,
and then
right?
people will come.
Yeah.
And so it's been really, really good for us for that. And we're not actually farming the keys. We just go buy them out of Jita and then have fun with it. But it's really fun.
Yeah, same here. Chossuh, you like it too?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really use it that much, but I definitely see why. Like, it's a good change in the right direction. Maybe like the DBS isn't the right thing.
Yeah.
But
the DBS, you mean wait a second.
Dynamic bounty system. The thing that lowers the
amount
of money you make.
I would call it the BRM, the bounty risk modifier. But yeah, I think like that's a big discussion whenever ESSs come up. I think a lot of people put them both together, and then they say, for example, they don't like it. But I think you really have to, like, when it comes to the ESS, you have to say, is it the BRM? Is it the ESS? Is it the reserve bank or the main bank that you dislike, Or like, you kind of have to separate all these things, and it
feels like everything about the DBS has been said. Like, I feel like I've had this conversation and heard this conversation like 150 times, and they're just not being listened to. Like, it doesn't feel like I literally have had this exact conversation so many times on many podcasts and not on them, and on Reddit. It's just like,
when it comes to the BRM, I always wondered, and like ages ago I made a Reddit thread. Actually, when Brisk ran the first time, that was one of the suggestions I put in there, saying like, hopefully he's gonna push for that. Why isn't it like a dynamic security status in a system instead of like this weird BRM extra thing, right? Because
I imagine the work that it would take to change something that's been there from day one is basically impossible.
Yeah.
I'll like just chime in. Like I don't really get to know too much about how the game designers design stuff, but that is something that can be done now. Like there can be dynamic. From my understanding, there can be like the foundation is there to build dynamic security.
Because I think that would be a healthier way instead of having like a system where it's not worth for anyone to red in. Like now, the system that before any changes BRM wise had like 5 Ishtars like doing their fucking ticks. Now can only support 1 Ishtar, but at least that 1 Ishtar gets that tick. It's still worth at least for that 1 Ishtar to do it. But like who reds in like I don't know what's the lowest percentage actually? Is it 60, 70%?
40, I think, is it?
50? Is it 40? It used to be
I think
30,
the lowest is 60, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but
I don't shit on me if I get it wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's 60.
It's like, I don't know, man. We need people in space, and I think just having that number out there is already discouraging. To be quite honest, I think that's already, it doesn't feel good, right? But
we already have too much instanced content in this game, and I'm worried going towards more of it. Like that is not what makes Eve a good game. Eve is not a good game. Just like I like to click buttons type game. It's not good in that sense. it's good in the interactions. Like the stories that we tell are much more powerful than the actual clicking of buttons and moving your mouse, which is a pretty insipid and poor system. And it seems like instant content is pushing away from the strengths of the game.
Yeah.
100% agree there. You want PvEers, you want people hunting the PvEers, you want people, right? It just
Baiting
it's a
the
whole
hunters.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
Lions
It's a
need zebras,
sandbox,
right? Yeah.
and we're taking away from the sandbox and giving them just like a swing set just to go, go do there, and you're taking them out of your sandbox.
Yep.
All right. What else is on the list?
I got a spicy one for August for you, Pando. I've been saving it.
Oh, bring it on, because we are on August right now. What is it?
All right, August, you wrote End of the War and Beginning of the Rebuild. I have a theory that, and this is backed up by, like, this is not just a theory, there is some intel here. I have a theory that basically Pappy knew in May, April, that the war was over. And my belief, which is also there is some intel to back this up, is that they carried on the war and promised like that final siege of 1DQ that they knew they weren't going to really do into June. Into June. Well, no. They don't care about Tengus.
What's the conspiracy? I'm curious
to get their CSM candidates through. Because they lost a bunch of people immediately after. Like Billy he can't be reelected next year, but he has lost his vote base, right? And if they had actually ended the war when they knew it was over, they would have lost one more year of representation. So the war was continued on beyond that point to ensure that their people got on CSM and their votes stayed in block. And through June, which is when the vote happened. But they already knew it was over by then. So there's my spice, and that's the hill I'm dying on.
I'm not sure. Like, if I have to take a guess,
I think that's a bit of a hot take.
Yeah,
it's part
I like
hot take.
it.
That requires a lot of forward thinking.
It makes for a good story.
Yeah, there's some grain of truth, and that is true. Like oftentimes after we do something, people are like, "Yeah, they had this plan, and they doubled back, and they did all this stuff." We're like, "Oh no, we were just dumb, and like it just happened by accident."
I'm sure there's
That's
a universe
exactly
where
what
that
happened.
actually did happen, but maybe not in this one.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah,
and also, I also don't believe that, like, at least obviously from my perspective of talking to goblins a lot, I don't think he's really like. Obviously, he's not getting reelected this year, but I don't think he would, even if he was going to get reelected. I don't think that would be on like the primary goal in his mind for him, like to continue the war just so he gets reelected. If
I don't think
he was able to.
The big names on that list would be in danger anyway. Like a Villy and a Goblins, even after the war, you would still get elected, right?
Yeah.
So. There's no way Villy gets elected right now. Tess doesn't have the members, right? Like, see, he's in chat, so I'm
honestly, not. I doubt this went through their minds, or this was the plan.
I mean, it's one of those things where like we can never know unless they said, yeah, it was on our minds. But I have seen a little grains here and there, and then I just connected all the dots, like that Charlie with the board and all the lines, all the wires sticking there, putting everything together. That's me. Yeah,
I don't know. I talked to goblins a lot during the final months of the war, and I never got this kind of like spin, like this kind of like not spin, but like this angle from our chat.
Right.
So,
what? Who knows? Right? Yeah. So, end of the war. We talked about that. I think the rebuild. I mean, we've been rebuilding like crazy. For Horde, it was more like, all right, we're going home. And like after a week, it felt like normal already, right? That's kind of what it was, right? That's the impression I had.
Back to standing fleet.
Yeah, it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, R1O pops back to life. Dark side, like shit, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah, man.
I felt like the fucking Hordlings were like hungrier than ever. Whenever I showed up in local, there was like a swarm of little shits.
Yeah, fucking
zooming around.
On the week after the war ended, like it was like 204 14 people in fleet or
Dude,
some shit.
Your standing fleet is scary as hell right
I
now. It's been a
know.
long time, but we can't be there more than like 30 seconds, and it's
Dude,
just
yeah,
like we
it's
got to nope
crazy.
out.
Yeah,
Bye.
When my corp joined Horde, our standing fleet were like, I don't know, like just completely clueless. It's literally just like the idea of like what you think
It was
Horde
pretty nice.
tradition. Yeah.
You get
But
scrammed
now,
web
like,
and then you drown.
but now these standing fleet guys, they've been beaten up so much. Like you guys have beaten them up so much. Now they're actually pretty Chad themselves, dude. So
No, they're
Yeah, they
very,
learn.
very good at catching us and very efficient.
yeah, it's just funny.
As people get better at it, like your enjoyment of like the seal clubbing goes down and down. It used to be like Brave sends 500 Atrons at you and you're just nuking them, and now people are showing up. Oh, they have the 100-kilometer web. They have an 80-kilometer scram, right? And you're like, oh,
Yep.
I can't do anything.
Yeah, dude. One of my guys, he sits in standing fleet all the time, and he has like an abyssal rolled, max rolled faction web, I think, and it's got like 120, 25 kilometers range or some shit. It's crazy. But I don't know, like. We because we're neutral to frats, so we spend a lot of time with my corp just going to frat space and just sitting in there staging. And as long as you pick the right time, it's pretty fun because they tend not to form like seriously. They'll do like a small cruiser fleet or something.
EU
which you can
time
just
zone?
dodge. Not in EU. I avoid EU time zone.
Wait.
Like,
The frat EU time zone is what you avoid?
yeah, because there's too many numbers. You just get gigablob straight away.
That's not what I experienced, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I
Oh.
was talking to Bjorn, like, so in China time zone, obviously,
Yeah.
we don't even have to talk about.
Sorry. I'm getting confused, man. I mean, like we form up like 1900, 2000. So like EU time zone. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just,
Yeah.
tied and,
It's
numbering my
usually
words.
like BJK. I don't know what the other FC's name was.
Yeah.
But they quick form and just throw stuff at a gate and see what happens. And yeah, we had some good fights against them too.
If you go there in late U.S. time zone, they'll show up with like it's only 15 dudes, but it's 15 dudes who are there to ruin your day. Like you're talking about those max rolled webs, Barghest with like long scrams. Like you have to either show up with something that can punch through all that, or they're just going to come run you down, the curse newt you, and then you're just dead. Like they have they're really serious about ruining your fun if you
Which
don't
is
bring
fun.
a lot of people. Yeah, I get it. I would do the same thing.
I suppose like US time zone, you're also hitting their like China time zone as well. Like
Yeah,
midday,
early. Yeah.
Kind of times.
How many times have you gotten Rosemary M's? Like,
Bro.
Oh my god, stop. It's that guy.
I was so like when the ESSs came out, I was like running around solo in an Omen because an Omen's actually faster than a Stabber if you fit out a shield Omen. So I was like robbing, and this guy would show up, and he would show up in a Nightmare that was going like 2,800 meters a second, and I'm like, how is this even possible? Battleships are not supposed to move this fast. And I was like, it was the middle of a war, so I had a really hard time like diverting resources to kill one guy. But I'm like, I'm gonna set up a trap for him. I'm gonna kill this Nightmare, and then like a couple of days before I was planning to do it, someone killed it. I'm like, oh no, I was so upset.
Yeah.
That dude is active.
They have a handful of those hardcore dudes.
yeah, every time I see him or his ult and logo, I'm like, I'm filming out. I can't take this. Like, I give up.
Yep.
Then also in August, NPE rework, right? So finally, that's what I felt like. There was always this talk about CCP having like a lot of people involved in NPE stuff, right? And I was like, man, are they ever going to finish it? And then they finally came out with a new NPE, which looks pretty cool, I gotta say. But I guess you guys are probably the wrong guys to ask about it.
I went back and done it. It's a good experience. Like if anyone hasn't done the tutorial, I would recommend going and doing it just to see the new stuff they've added. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's, there's a new element, like there's a new chapter that's going to replace one of the career agents, like in I think the next month or two.
All right. Yeah,
And they're just going to keep building on it.
Yeah, we need more new people, that's for sure. So,
do you guys want to hear my Scrooge hot take? Like, I'm going to ruin the spirit of Christmas for you. You know what thread I am really tired of seeing on Reddit is, you guys won't believe it. I'm a new player, and a GM from the game messaged me and talked to me and told me how great it was. I feel like I see this thread every other day, at least on the EVE subreddit. There must be GMs, just like there's like 5 GMs that message every new player and says, hey, how are you? I am so tired of hearing about it. Like, great, it's great customer service. I'm tired of reading that thread. Scrooge out.
Dude, those are like the most Shoban happy fucking
They
threads
really
to
are.
read.
They're so
I love
great.
them.
They're so great.
They have
But it's
no
like-
place on our Eve.
Yeah,
There's
I'm
just
so
a ton
tired
of GMs who like go out and do it. They do it in like a lot of them do it in their spare time too. They'll just go and message you. It's there's this thing called like a magic moment that'll like put you higher up in the queue. Like if something catastrophic happens to you, like if you lose your ship, like the GMs will be like, "Hey man, you died. Do you know how that happens?"
Oh,
And then they're like, "Here's your ship back. I just want to show you all these resources that we have here." And the newbie, like, just they sometimes will copy and paste it into this one channel we have. And I just, if it's like a grim day, I'll just go in there and read them and be like, "Yeah, newbie's own."
just like
Feels
really
good.
wholesome vibes.
Yeah,
It's so nice that I do feel like a Scrooge, but yeah.
I thought, Asher, you're gonna say it's the typical thread of like, is it too late to start with Eve? Should I be starting to play? It's like, oh, stop it.
That is the second one where just everyone talks about, and that thread's what's like every 2 or 3 days on that one too, right?
I feel like those ones are a little bit disingenuous. Like I've seen people like delete their threads because they use the wrong account, like doing it. I'm not saying they all do it, but I know at least some of them were just like, "This game sucks. I'm gonna use it all to say how much it sucks."
I think if you have to like get the courage from Reddit to play, you're too soft anyway. Go play fucking World of Warcraft. You're gonna make it far. Too weak.
I think also I think we also did the Parchment Gate somewhere around here.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember when exactly that was, but it feels like kind of around the August thing, even just before.
There's been some decent medium-sized content in there, actually.
Dude, Parchment low-key owns. Like, I know you guys probably don't go there very much, but that shit's
no
fire.
Parchment experience, to be honest. I've been there twice. So.
Can I be a Scrooge again?
No.
Stop it.
I'm doing
we
it
move
anyway.
on.
No. I'm so tired of some random goon DMing me on Jabber and being like, hey Jabber, hey Asher, I have an amazing opportunity to make money. It's like a multi-level marketing scheme. Every 2 days, someone messaged me about Parchment to tell me how great it is and how much money we could be making there. And I am tired of hearing that too. I'm just an old man. I'm gonna go retire. Have a good night, guys.
I think the great thing about Parchment is that like the amount of ISK you make there basically just like funds the feeds that you eventually commit to. So it is nice.
All right. Skill plan changes. I mean, pretty nice, right? Also in August. I would say like the overall like people didn't like the design at first, but I think overall it probably helps for like new guys coming in. Like as soon as we all get used to it, it's not gonna be that bad, right?
I think that's probably the least popular take you've ever had in your life, but just based on how players react. I don't think you're wrong. I think you're absolutely right, but every time I say that, I get just like completely shit on.
I think, it's always the same, like especially when it comes to like user interface stuff. If you change something after like how many years did we have this? I don't know, like after 10 years. Yeah, it's going to be tough to adjust. And then if you have bugs in them, which, was the case, and it doesn't work properly, like, holy shit, is that going to be a bad experience at first. And then you're going to, for the next 2 years, you're going to have to listen to that. And that's just how the world works, right? But then
I will say, I am absolutely shocked. And this is probably going to get me in some hot water. So hopefully no one's listening anymore. But I am shocked at how many super talented UI designers just exist and play Eve, because all you have to do is put like one change out and you'll get like 500 people saying, no, this is dog shit. This is what I did in MS Paint. And just like trying to show how good their idea is so much better than yours. And it's like, okay.
I mean, there's some truth to that, but there are some really good changes, like the inventory change with the red dot that showed you have something in your inventory. That was a really good one.
Yeah, the red dot. I just want the red dot and the gong to come back at once, just a double whammy.
Just open source the design, just throw it up in GitHub and then let Eve go wild with creation.
Let's do it.
Yeah, every skill will just be a picture of a dick.
Just let Reddit design again, like whatever.
There's so many talented Eve players. Like if you
that is true,
talk to people in your alliance or whatever, there are so many people who are like, oh yeah, I'm like a really big guy at Google. Like I do something really important. I work on Google Maps, and like, oh, what do you do at Google Maps? So like I run it. Like, oh, that's awesome. Congratulations. Like there are a lot of super talented people in this game. So I think it leads to a lot of people who like have their really strong opinions and are used to in their everyday life getting their way.
It's kind of weird. Like Eve kind of grew up like as those kids, like they started off as like college kids, and then they went through like through their careers, and they still play, a lot of them, and they're just like, yeah, I'm kind of a big deal. Like I do stuff. You might remember me from when I was just a goofball, but
I do stuff.
my life is also to the guys in chat who are like still hating on the red dot. You can turn that off. There's a toggle.
Yeah,
you won that war. You can just turn it off.
You know what?
I gotta say, you didn't know that until now.
It's a crazy take maybe, but the red dot never bothered me. Like I never gave a flying fuck about the red dot. I really didn't. Like
I kind of like the gong too. Like
I didn't get why it was introduced either. Right? I'm just saying, like I don't know what it was for, but you know, yeah. All right, should we move on? Where are we? September. This was August, right? All right, September. No downtime number 2. You know, kind of interesting long term. Maybe we can get rid of the downtime. I don't know.
I don't like it. I don't think it's a good idea.
Wasn't there extended downtimes right after it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just to do like extra shit. Like we extended the no downtime. We were just like we added a few hours to it just to see what would happen. We'd be like, hey, we're in uncharted territory, and the ops guys were just like they had plans, but they were just like, fuck it, let's do a couple hours long to see what happened.
That's in the testing phase,
like,
right?
These big fights, Titans versus Titans, probably won't happen if there's no downtime, because you've always got that as an escape button, right?
Ooh.
A safety thing that you can always
rely on. It's not like we're having big Titan versus Titan fights all the time, right?
No, but when they do happen, I think they happen because you've always got that in your mind that if it goes bad,
you're not going to lose everything.
Yeah, you're not going to get wiped off the face of the planet, right?
I mean, like Asakai, downtime didn't play into it. BTEC R didn't really play into it. M2 definitely played into it, but
BTEC R, it was sort of part of. Well,
it started so early. I think people will just use it as an excuse to be like,
no, I remember.
Let's just stop.
I remember logging in BTEC R before downtime, maybe 2 hours before downtime, and then there was like the last couple of Nixes dying and stuff. So
I guess it was pretty much cleaned up by then.
Yeah, some people died still, but like it wasn't.
I've got a hot take. It's US time zone, so I'm going to go ahead with it. If Dark Shines is not the best looking dude in the world, I don't ever want to see his picture. Have you heard his voice? He sounds like if he doesn't have the face of George Clooney and the body of, I don't know.
Wait a second. Shines streams every now and then.
Does he? Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. It's like I don't want to like.
And why would you
meet someone?
Never meet your heroes.
And I thought you had the nudes. So did you get the nudes, but the head cropped off?
It's just the goods.
You just saw the 6-pack, yeah.
This is why I don't want to know someone's real life name when I know their Eve name. Like, oh, your name is Arcturus Starcrusher. That's pretty cool. Wait, your real name is Bob? You've just ruined everything about you for me. I wanted to know you as Arcturus Starcrusher, not Bob Smith. Please don't ever tell me your name.
Yep. For those who don't know, Shine streams every now and then as Honey Monster Eve. That's I don't have the shout out thing, but Monster Eve. There you go. For those who wonder. Alrighty. No downtime. We had that. We're getting there. We're getting there, guys. Then the Mac client. I don't know. There's not much to say about that.
We buffed blobs somewhere in there too. I feel like that happens.
Did we? Did I? Yeah, I probably forgot those.
When we didn't talk about the group chat.
So. It is kind of the new blobs are kind of nice though, right? I think everyone agrees on that.
Goons now have a blobs home defense doctrine. That means hundreds of goons dropping in 1.5 billion battleships. I don't really have that great of tank. It's going to be awesome until it's awesome, until it's all awesome when they all die.
Yeah. A bunch of tackle and 5 Hordreds and just run through your marshals, right?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be amazing.
It's actually quite hard to hold them down, though, because we've actually
Yeah.
you know, on the smaller scale, we've tried this when it's extra squishy and some snuffed out guys were doing this in horse space. We were trying to bait them quite a lot, and we got them twice. But just because of Widow ECM is so strong with the burst jammer, it's actually really hard to hold down multiple
Oh yeah, the
Widows
burst
jammer
jammer.
at the same time.
Yeah, you can get a handful of them,
and
but
especially with the MDD cloak trick,
Yeah.
it's actually it's actually not that easy. So it's not as bad as an idea as it sounds.
well, good news, we have no cloaks on ours, so don't even worry about that.
Oh boy.
Why would you, right?
Why would I put a
Don't
cloak
waste
on a
that high
cloaky
slot.
battleship?
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Oh no.
And then crab beacons. I don't know. Anyone got a take on crab beacons?
I think they're a bit of a bit of a meh addition. Like I was putting a lot of hope and like hope on the fact that they might bring back some capital gameplay that you could have some counterplay to, like in the good old days of Rorquals Online. But yeah, it just seems that they're not that used, and it's kind of hard as an FC to find where they're being used because you're limited on how many times you can use them a day per character and stuff. So people have to switch systems a lot, and there's not a whole lot of counterplay to them other than having an ult there just watching them run.
When the dread that it takes to run these is like 13 billion ISK, it's just like people are not really dying to go out there with their 13 billion ISK dread and wager it for rewards that are adequate at best.
Yeah.
I mean, I grinded this. I was making like 500 mil for every like couple of them I was running. It was like 500 mil for every 2 that I was running. Early days, because people would like buy the mutaplasmas a little bit more.
Were you doing this in the drone lands?
I was doing this in the drone lands, but I was too stubborn.
Imagine doing it in a place with no NPC stations. That would be a lot easier.
I mean, I died to. So I was super mad because I didn't want to do it in a system with a low bounding risk modifier. So I went like way out of the way. The system I was like basically maxed out. So I was like, sweet, I'm gonna make giga money. And then it was like in a pipe, so I had my alt like 4 jumps out in a Falcon just in case shit got real.
Mm-hmm.
And then Inner Hell just rage rolled because like 2 weeks out of this, they would just rage roll, and they rage rolled directly into my thing with Loki's. And I was like, oh. And so I was in a rev too. I was in like a. No, I mean I'll show you my kill mail. Like it's pretty grim. And so then I was like talking to Headliner, and I didn't even I was at work, and I was like, Headliner, can you come save me? Like I didn't have Mumble set up, so I had to type him to Discord, and he was like, sure, where are you? And I told him where I was. He was like, why the hell are you there? But he was being a bro, so he wanted to like come save me. So I was tanking just fine for a while, and then Inner Hell brought in some Balgorns. I was like, uh-oh. Shit's not looking too good now. You guys gotta get here fast. So I rushed him. And again, Headliner was bro. He's like, fine. You're kind of our mascot. I don't want you to die. So he brought in a bunch of Feroxes to kind of fight these Lokis. And I was like, I don't know, there's like 14 or 15 of them. But they just kept bringing more in because I was tanking fine. So by the time Headliner leaves and arrives, there's now like 35 Lokis. And the Lokis outnumber the Feroxes. And I'm just like, you should just warp to me. And see what happens. Because I had like 2-shot 2 Lokis, and I was like, hey, with your DPS, I'm sure I'll be fine. Was not fine. Like, so they get here, Inner Hell like just immediately stops shooting me and starts just blapping Feroxes. They all die. Headliner's like, well, we did our best. And then I died or like immediately after. But luckily they didn't know how the little crab beacons worked. So like the crab beacon self-destructed, and I got all my loot anyways.
Did you make enough to replace the rev before you lost it?
I bought a rev right next door to LXQ for 5 bill off the market. Feels amazing, man.
That seems good.
Yeah, and then I went and did it again, but this time I didn't get caught. And then I got scared. Like I just got like crazy PTSD. I was like, I don't want to do it again. And then there's some maniac in Horde who runs them in LXQ in a hell. because he just is crazy. I don't know how he does it.
Well, LXQ is pretty safe, though, I would say.
I mean, is it? I don't know. Like, it feels like that's the weirdest place to
you know
run
how
it.
many times I get poked about, like, especially hordes, like, hey, there's this and this doing, like, obviously I know there's someone going to be formed, like a Chossuh on standby or something, right? It's like, it's not that easy to actually catch these guys, I think. And
I didn't have the stones
LXQ,
to run it in LXQ, so I went to like faraway drone lands.
well,
Actually,
those
probably
are the
safer
dreads
for you
that
to
we
just
want
do
to
it, like,
catch.
next door to Wawa, no mate, if you really want to do it.
Yeah.
There seems to be some rule that every time I run them, the payout comes within like 20 minutes of me finishing up, and there's always some fucking small gang comes in and just takes like 400 mil from the ESS because I can never de-siege and get to the ESS in time.
Oh yeah, they stole my ESS too. Like 2 Vedmax showed up.
Yeah.
I was like, what are these idiots
You
gonna
gotta
do?
be
I'll just
ready for
blab
that.
them. And then I just forgot the ESS mechanic existed, so they took all my dank ticks. And I was like, ah, shit.
I want to see you warp to
me
the
now.
ESS and try to take your acceleration gate in the dread. That would have been ideal for me.
Alrighty. Crab beacons, we've done that. November, obviously the AT, we talked about that. And then the riots and Jeddah about the scarcity patch, which was kind of, you know, interesting to see after, like, when was the Summer of Rage? I don't even remember. 2010,
11 years ago.
Yeah.
I was on the CSM for that one, and I was running the CSM for this one. Full circle. Feels great.
Well,
doesn't actually feel great, but I mean,
I'd like to get your take on this, actually.
yeah, what was the reaction?
I think my take is very unpopular with a certain crowd, so I don't want to make it. But like, it's not something that was ignored.
Gotta
or anything
take some
like
risks,
that.
my friend.
Like internally, there was like a big chat about it. Hilmar talked about it. So if you get Hilmar's attention, that's kind of a big deal.
What's Hilmar normally doing? Like,
playing the cookie clicker.
Screenshot I've seen playing cookie clicker.
Yeah. I saw that like that thread, that call out on Twitter. It was great. And then he like responds to
And he had,
like
like,
a
13
screenshot of
hours
his
of it or
cookie
so.
cutter. He's like, "Yep, struggle's real."
All right. And then December, the corp skill plan. I think that's kind of interesting for bigger groups, right? Especially for newbie groups coming. That might just be, you know, an easy way of getting people up to speed. I think that's a healthy little thing.
Does anyone know why CCP won't replace their stupid, terrible default overview? Like, why is it so bad? And why is there just not, like, just not a good overview?
Yeah. It's coming.
Oh, right.
I'm glad to hear that. Because it is legitimately like hard to fathom.
It took him a week or two. I mean, or maybe 20 years.
But hey, whatever. Improvement is
coming.
what you want, right?
It's coming.
Hey, Chossuh.
Soon,
guys. It was planned for 1.5 hours. We kind of went a little bit overboard, so we're at 2 hours 20. I would say let's cut it off right here. Whatever we didn't talk about, I'm sure I'm gonna talk to each of you guys at some point again, and we're just gonna talk about it then. But yeah, guys, thanks a lot for coming on. It was a blast, actually, just as expected, right? And you know, I'm gonna be driving home tomorrow a little bit early for Christmas. So everyone here and everyone who's maybe listening to it on the way to the family or whatever, you know, enjoy the holidays and stuff. And I would say see you guys in the next year and stuff. All right.
Hey, Merry Christmas, you guys.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, happy holidays, everyone, and have a good new year. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm going to take some pictures of Reykjavik New Year's. Apparently, it's popping. The most fireworks per capita of anyone anywhere in the world. So that's what I'm told. But they also told me winter would suck, and it's not that bad.
Alrighty, and you guys on stream? I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, go ahead.
I was just about to say thanks for hanging out on stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, see you guys around. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks.